My life was incredible. And people were like, what the fuck, are you moving? Hey, he's moving to the US.
Yeah.
Why?
Yeah.
And I was like, I just felt like something was drawing me over here. And I was like, my dream was really go to the US and test my entrepreneurial genes, my skill sets over here in the hardest and most competitive market in the world. I wanted to come over to the US and see if I could do the same as I did in Copenhagen with success and all that kind of stuff. So I was like, I'm up for it.
In this episode, we welcome Jannik Olander, CEO and founder of the jewelry brand Nialaya. Yannick tells us about what he thinks makes a great entrepreneur, about his epic journey of going from Denmark to Los Angeles to chase the American dream, and everything in between. Enjoy.
So, welcome back to another episode with Mick and Trav. We're here with Jannik Olander, founder and CEO of Nialaya, serial entrepreneur, all-around cool guy. Welcome to the show.
Thank you, guys. I'm excited about being here. Let's do this.
Definitely. So, Yannick, what makes a good entrepreneur to you?
I think a good entrepreneur is someone who is willing to work hard, take risks, and follow your passion really, and go with it. Not listening to too many naysayers. It's super hard to be an entrepreneur because you're starting new companies. You have so many hats on. You're doing the bookkeeping. You are doing HR. You're hiring people. You're firing people. It's everything. Yeah. And there's just so many aspects to it. But you definitely have to have a go-getter gene, I would say.
What would you say is the number one trait to have as a great entrepreneur, if you had to choose one?
People always ask me what it takes kind of to make it. And I'm just saying you got to be super ambitious and just like really go for it.
Yeah.
Just be like, burn for it so hard that you can't stop working. Then you're on the way. That's kind of what I say.
Yeah, I love that.
Yeah.
And has that always been how you've sort of felt?
For me, yeah, I've always been a workaholic, really, since I was like super young in my teens, really. And I started working I'm from the countryside in Denmark, and I started working when I was like 12 years old at a local farm, like a neighbor farm. And I always worked. I always had a pretty expensive lifestyle since I was like 12, 13 actually. And I needed to support that. I needed new clothes. I needed a cool bike. I needed to take girls out, all that kind of stuff.
You like the glamour.
I like the good life. I realized that when I was 12. So I was like, that's it. There's only one way. My parents didn't have money to support that lifestyle. So I needed to work. So it was basically just working hard. And I always worked and I always loved it. And it's just followed me.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah.
What's your best memory from working on that farm? What did it give you?
I was like, it sounds completely crazy and it would be so illegal today, but I was 12, my brother was 10, 2 years younger, and we were literally out driving tractors by ourselves out in the field and stacking hay, up on a trailer. Like 2, 10, 12-year-old boys today, it'd be so illegal. Yeah. And it was also so dangerous. I think just running around in a driving tractor, we could have come into so many accidents, and there we were. But I was working super hard until I had no skin on my fingers just from stacking hay. But I was just like, that's kind of how it is to grow up in the countryside. Not my most fun job, but it builds you to who you are.
It gives you some grit.
That's it,
right?
Basically, you learn it. It's like you're standing there shuffling cow shit. It's not super glamorous, but I got paid $1.50 an hour, and I thought that was cool. And also just to learn early on to earn your own money. Yeah. I didn't ask my parents for anything, and they didn't really. I got my pocket money, which was something like $7 a week or something, till I was 16 or something, and that didn't bring me far, so I needed to make my own money, and it's always been like that.
Yeah. What was it about the glamorous style? When did that come in, and why do you think that that was something that intrigued you?
Very weird, actually, because as I said, I grew up on the countryside, 10 kilometers outside a town called Vejle in Denmark with 50,000 people or something. And there was no internet when I grew up. There was TV and stuff, but, I was listening to radio, I was watching TV, whatever there was, right? But where do you get inspiration from? There was no podcast about entrepreneurship. No. There's no nothing about, you can get inspired and see other people and stuff. So you just kind of had to pick it up. But I remember when I was 14, I picked up my bike and I drove into that local town to the local train station where they had this little magazine store. And I bought my first edition of the English GQ fashion magazine for guys. And 14 years old, and I drove back 10 kilometers and I was reading that, and I was like, all right, that's what's up. Yeah, and I was like,
that's me.
That's it. That's where I want to be. This is cool. Cool guys, cool clothes, it's fashion. And I was kind of inspired from it. My uncle worked at a department store in Copenhagen called Magasin. You guys probably know it, right? So where we sell my jewelry today, by the way. But he used to work there. And I came over to visit him when I was 14 with my parents, and I just thought it was so cool. And the people working with him and the whole environment, fashion, all that kind of stuff. So that was those days. And I just like catched onto it and thought, there must be something bigger than Klattrup, where I grew up. Basically a town with 70 people and farms to the left, farms to the right. We lived, it was not a farm, but like hobby farm, I would say, but kind of half in a forest, half on a field. And pretty far away from, I would say, civilization, so to speak. But it was very charming and very healthy way to be brought up, basically, playing with your neighbor kids and ice skating on a lake in the winter and climbing trees and all that kind of stuff. But it was good childhood memories for sure.
Yeah, so you kind of grow up having some hard work as well, but also kind of a stable surrounding.
Yeah.
But then you kind of dig on to there's more. There's more to life for me.
I was like, okay, cool. So this is where I'm at. It's definitely not where I'm going to stay. I always felt like I didn't belong in that whole area for that matter, but I was very good at soccer. I was obsessed with sports, extremely competitive, just like on a crazy level. So I was playing soccer like 6-7 days a week. And I got picked up by a bigger club when I was like 14. And then I got picked up by another bigger club when I was 15, 16. So I kind of like escalated and into that and elevated my game and met other like-minded guys from all over the area in the big clubs, so to speak. Yeah. So I was just obsessed with soccer, and I just kind of knew that I wanted something bigger, something different. And I thought, I'm not necessarily from the countryside. I mean, I came from there, but I'm not supposed to be there. Yeah. And
that's not where the story ends.
Yeah, that's exactly. So that's where it begins, right? So I'm really a big city person. I thrive in a big city. I love big cities. And that's why I live in LA and why I love it here. I mean, I lived in Copenhagen for 9 years. I loved it. I had the best times of my life. I have some of my best friends there, great memories. It's just way too small for me. It's way too almost claustrophobic. I love being home and visiting my friends, but when I've been like 5 days, I'll say like, okay, cool. Then we've had dinner once, because I know when we have dinner twice, we just sit to talk about the same things and the same people. Yeah. I just can't do that. No. Yeah. So I miss them and I love to be with them. And I love the city of Copenhagen itself. It's just quite small for me.
So you're kind of always looking for something where to progress.
Yeah, elevate my own game and be around elevated people. LA offers that to you if you want that. It's a big city. People are busy grinding. It's super expensive here, way more expensive now than Copenhagen. When I first moved to LA 16 years ago, I remember I came over and I was like, wow, this is kind of cheap here, It's like, I like that. Denmark is expensive.
Denmark is expensive.
It's a big city. It's cool here, but it's not like Denmark. But then things have just completely changed. US, it's just like gone nuts. Yeah. Not for the better necessarily, I would say. But it's very expensive here. And but there's so much opportunity because there's so many entrepreneurs here. Everyone has their own company. There's a lot of dreamers. Also a lot of crazy people for sure. But everyone here, if you go to the gym, you speak to the local trainer, he's for sure working on a plan, on a protein bar or a clothing line or something. Everyone has something in mind. Okay. They have dreams. They're working on something on the side. They dream big. I don't want to talk bad about Denmark for that matter, but for example, in Denmark, it's like people are like, oh, what is he thinking about, man? He's never going to fucking do a protein bar, this guy. Yeah. So that also just stops a lot of people from dreaming and doing things, I feel. Where in the US or in LA or the bigger cities as well, everyone just has a plan. And everyone also just has 2 jobs minimum to support just a normal lifestyle, not an expensive lifestyle, just to survive. And then you have 2 jobs and then you have your sidekick. That could be your own plan or, what you're working on. So yeah, it's fascinating. And I love that entrepreneurial kind of drive people have here.
Yeah, that's awesome.
Yeah.
You've mentioned something a couple of times now that I just want to highlight, which was even back when you were 15 and going to those soccer clubs, that you all of a sudden were surrounded by like-minded people kind of for the first time.
Yeah.
And now you've really been seeking that out along the way. People, high ambitions, entrepreneurial mindset, things like that, probably high performer. What allured you to that even when you were just 15, and what did that give you, and what does that continue to give you as you seek out these circles?
Yeah, I mean, I thought at the time when you're 15, if you're good in sport, I think if you're really good, it's natural that you get discovered and you can kind of move around different places until you are kind of at the best level you can be. And I was playing in the best league of soccer in Denmark, so obviously I suddenly met other of the best players in Denmark. I think it's great to be good at sport when you're a kid, or good at something anyways. It doesn't have to be sport, but it brings you confidence. And I learned that. So I was just killing it with all the best players in Denmark at that time, and I loved that.
So I'm also curious, you've been working in entrepreneurship and having companies for a long time.
Yeah.
What was sort of your first exposure to entrepreneurship where you're like, hey, that's something for me, instead of just the normal, like, let me get a job and work until I retire mindset that most people tend to grow up with?
I know what you mean. It's a great question. So my grandfather had his own business. He was selling scrap metal and stuff like that, but he had his own business and own employees. So I feel I had it in kind of my blood. My grandmother, she had her own antique store.
Okay,
so selling antiques and stuff like that. So they had their own businesses. I love that.
Were you like associated with them?
I was very close to them, spending time with them in the business and stuff, but I didn't really get it. I was so young to see their own business and stuff. But when I was 16, I had finished boarding school and I started to go to high school, gymnasium in Denmark. And when I came into that city where, that was the big city in the area, Vejle, with 50,000 to 55,000 people or whatever. I met a girl there that I started dating. She was going to business school, handel school. I was going to gymnasium, but she was super pretty, a very cute girl, and her father was one of the richest guys in Vejle.
Oh, okay.
So he was from Copenhagen, a real entrepreneur. He dropped out of school when he was like 12 or 13, started working in a little supermarket and started his own supermarket chain, and was a billionaire at the time in Danish crowns. So he was really wealthy. He owned Vejle Boldklub, the local football club. He owned like the biggest supermarkets in town. He owned apartment houses. They lived in a sick house down by the ocean in Vejle, overview of the whole ocean. And he had a cool Jaguar, and he was living a whole different life that I'd ever seen. And I was, I had long hair, earrings. I was like very fashionable, but kind of different looking at that time. And he was very conservative. I loved him though, and he loved me because we got along really well, because he loved my work ethics. Obviously, he had 2 kids, his daughter I was dating and the younger brother. But for me, obviously, it was pretty obvious I didn't come from that background. So I was working super hard on the side of my studies. Grinding hard, and he loved that. I was working night shift, day shift, whatever it took. And so we got along really well. But it opened my eyes just to a whole new world. And I was like, wow. I want that. And this was just so cool. And it was very inspiring to me. And, I still remember he was really wealthy, right? And he would still come in, knock on the door. We were in the room. He would be like, hey, Yannick, are you done out in the hallway? I'm like, yeah, why? Because the light is still on. And I'll be out going out and turn off the light then. Because he was looking after his money. And just like a real old school entrepreneur.
Yeah.
And I learned just a lot from being around them and, saw that lifestyle and, listened to that. I didn't necessarily come from that myself. I came from a different, more hippies, laid back, chilled upbringing where money didn't matter. And to my family, it still doesn't matter. It's more like just your well-being, whatever. I could ask my parents, they're like, what do you want to be? And I could come up with anything. They're like, we don't care, whatever you want to be. Yeah. I'm like, all right, cool, whatever. My dad suggested I should be an electrician. And I'm like, electrician? Like me? Come on, man. I don't want to get too dirty anyway. So it's just like totally different world. And so I got really inspired by that. And that was when first time I really saw, entrepreneurship. And I started to like feel that, just kind of move in those directions. And I knew I had it in me. And from then on, like 16 years old, I'm like, I want my own business. That's it. So, and I remember even when I was like 8 or 10 years old in like the school, they pulled you up aside and like, what do you want to be when you are an adult? And I was like, I want to be a CEO. They're like, CEO? I want to be CEO of my own company. And that was like 8 years old. And like, what? In the countryside, like little school with 200 people. Late, but okay, so how are you going to be that? I don't know, but I'm going to make it happen. Okay, cool. Yeah, you're very confident, young man. Yes, I am. And that was kind of the beginning of that. So yeah, it's always kind of stuck with me, I guess.
Yeah, that's really cool. Well, was there ever just like a specific moment in there as well when you were a teenager dating that girl with her father and everything, where you were just like, all right, this is for me, and I can actually do this? And it's like no looking back. Or
yeah, I had a plan for myself. When I was at that age, I was 16 and I dated her till I was 18. Then I finished school and I was like, okay, I am going to go to London now, just learn some English. I want to also just like go out and spread my wings. Being kind of growing up on the countryside in Denmark, Vejle, that area, I knew that I had to also just get to know myself. 18 years old, you got the whole world in front of you, and I'll, advise anyone to do that. Just go.
Yeah.
So I bought a one-way ticket to London, and never been there before, but I was like, I was going to go with my girlfriend to south of France in a language school, and I was working double shift that summer in a gas station to save up. Of course, her father had the money; he paid for her already. So we ended up breaking up. I was working too much, so we broke up. She went to south of France, and I'm like, I'm not going there. I'm going to somewhere else. So I was like, thinking, where do I go? London. Speak English. I mean, I didn't speak English at all, very badly, but, I want to learn English. I just want to check it out. So, and I had been reading this English GQ in English since I was 14. So I had a tune with whatever. So I was like, okay, so I bought a one-way ticket from Billund Airport to London. Second time in my life that I was on a flight. And the first time was from Billund to Copenhagen. So, I was not really international minded. I flew to London with $1,000 to my name and was just going to kind of go and get a job and see if I could survive and, see where this would take me. And I was supposed to come back after 6 to 12 months and study in Copenhagen, in Aarhus, actually, because I still thought, that might be a little big Copenhagen, so I'll go for Aarhus, second biggest city in Denmark, right? So I wanted to come home and study law. I had some different ideas, but I was going to go to university or business school. I knew that. But I actually ended up staying outside of Denmark for 7 years and do all kind of stuff. And I realized I could just move around Europe. Like, it was so great, speak languages. So I've lived in London for 1 year. I moved to Munich, learned German. And later I moved to Hamburg and, worked for Ralph Lauren. And so, as a young man, you are out maneuvering in the world and you just dating girls outside, you speak other languages, you live I was a bartender in Ibiza for one summer.
Oh, there you go.
I was so sick. Time of my life. And the winter I went to Val d'Isère and snowboarded for like a season. So, I was just going along to see what's up. And I survived. And I made money, and I had a great time doing it.
What did you learn about yourself doing all that?
Everything.
From London to traveling Europe, and you went out to find yourself. What did you learn about yourself?
I remember, when I came back from London, I thought I was a shit. I'd just been done for like... I came back to my friends in the little town where I met them, and I thought I was so cool. But I was just boosted with confidence. Like, even to to come from a little town like me and there was not even a bus. Like, I was taking a bicycle to work, to school, right? Because the bus came like twice a day or something. So for me to come from such a little place and being absolutely no one to like really just making friends all over the world and living and being curious in life and super open-minded. I'm extremely open-minded and was obviously much more when I was that age, and just wanted to meet people and talk to people and dating girls and having fun and parties and traveling around. It's just like, it was so beneficial for me. So I got so boosted with confidence and just like, I could do anything. And that was kind of the mindset I had.
Where did that confidence come from in those experiences?
It comes from small victories. I was applying for jobs, I got a job. Then I was like, I worked for Ralph Lauren in Munich, and I came into the interview speaking no German. But the guy who was running the store, he was American. And I was like sitting in there and I spoke such bad German. I had taken a language school there for like 3 weeks. My German was so bad. So we spoke English and he's like, listen, I said, it's just like my German is so bad. He's like, don't worry about it. No one here speaks German. And I'm like, what? Yeah, I said, all the Germans that comes in here, they've just been to the US and they think we're so cool. So they want to speak English to you anyways. And you can just learn German along the way. So I was like, oh, I'll try. Okay, cool. I loved it. So I got in there. It was a super international team of like good, cool people, good looking crowd, Ralph Lauren. Everyone's wearing like, third day I got suit, ties, everything. So I was running around with like pinstripe suits and braces and ties and the whole thing. And it's just a whole different vibe. Then, we had a base salary and we had a bit of commission too. And I was partying like seven days a week. I was going out all the time and I was going straight to work and stuff, like home, shower, boom, into work. And I needed to sell like a lot to make my commission because obviously I needed that for my health, my expensive lifestyle.
I got to keep the glamour going.
Yeah, I needed that. So I was learning German at night in the nightclubs, just out with my friends, meeting people, talking, blah, blah. So I picked up German from that. And I was a really good salesperson, also quite aggressive salesperson. A customer comes in, I'm come running from the back in front of my colleagues just to get that customer. So friction sometimes with my colleagues, pretty unfair from my side. I would say today I'll probably take it a little more easy, but I was like pretty wild. And I then, I did so well there, and I had such a great relationship also to the owner of the Ralph Lauren stores. He was an older German guy, really cool guy. He was in his 60s. But I got along really well with him. And then I quit that job. I then decided at that time now, I went to Ibiza to be a bartender after the summer there. And then I was like, after the Ibiza trip, I went to Val d'Isère with a friend of mine. We were snowboarding, smoking weed, hanging out, like just like being completely crazy kids. And we said to each other, listen, 23, I want to be serious now. Like we've just like fucked around since like 18, 19. Like, let's go back to like, he was the same way. I want to be serious. I like, it's 5 years, 24, that's a cutoff line. We can't run around and do this anymore. So he went home, he went back to university, and I went to business school in Denmark and got a special kind of deal with Copenhagen Business School. They had deals where we could work at a company. So, and I studied retail there as my expertise. And as my major, it was retail as Niels Bock. And then you had to find a company. All the other guys were like working for Shell, Dansk Supermarket, Bilka, whatever, or big, like big companies in Denmark.
Corporate.
And I had really corporate, and I had to, so they were paying for it, and I had to find my way. And I was like, okay, I'm not going to work for any of these companies. But so I called my old boss from Hamburg, and I convinced him that I could work in Hamburg and be off for those 10 weeks a year and go to that school where you live and study super hard. It was a new way of studying. So you study 10 weeks a year. And then on top of that, I would also get my vacation unpaid. So, and then that time I was spending Ibiza. So he's like, you know what, you got it. And I actually worked so hard in Hamburg. I became the store manager, still managed to go to Copenhagen where I lived and studied for a week, 10 weeks a year for two years. And then did my bachelor, so to speak, there. And then I went in the summers, I went to Ibiza and was a bartender. Mm-hmm. So technically I didn't have any time off, but okay, you're in Ibiza being a bartender. So that's vacation too,
That's
right?
almost vacation. Yeah.
And that money I saved up, the money I made in Ibiza, I did save up. So, when I was finally done, after my studies were done, I was working. I was now a manager for the Ralph Lauren stores. I got approached by a guy that had moved, an American guy from Newport Beach, actually.
Okay.
Really cool guy, Rich Miller. He had moved to Denmark with his Danish fiancée, who was an au pair here. And he had invested in a major store in Copenhagen called Brødrene Andersen, which at the time was an old, dusty, but very historic, beautiful store. The most expensive and most snobbish in Copenhagen. We were having, like, I say we because I started working for them. We had politicians there. We were like delivering to the castle, the princes and all that kind of stuff in Denmark, the royal family.
Yeah, sure.
So it was very traditional, and he had bought it and wanted to redo it and rebrand the whole thing. And he loved Ralph Lauren, and he wanted to open up multiple Ralph Lauren stores in Denmark. So to do that, he came to Ralph Lauren's headquarters in Europe, Paris, and they said, listen, if you want to work with Ralph Lauren, you need one guy. And he's like, who's that? That's the Danish guy who works in Hamburg. You need someone that speaks the language. He can do it. He's an amazing guy. He's a store manager. So we'll introduce it to him, and then you have to basically get him home to Denmark.
You must have made quite a name of yourself if they already knew that from the headquarters.
Yeah, they did. Because I was the store manager for that store in Hamburg. So I came to Paris all the time, like 4 or 5 times a year to buy for the new collections with my team. So we were in Paris, I was young, 24, 25, 26 in a showroom in Paris with so many cool girls around. It was just so much fun. Of course, I was just like, I loved it. It was like the fashion world. It was cool people. We were going to all the best restaurants at night, and at daytime we were buying for the stores. So we would spend like a week together, almost like buying accessories, socks, ties, suits, all that stuff for Ralph Lauren, for Polo, and all that kind of stuff. So I had a blast. I was really living in this fashion world now in Paris with amazing people. So it's awesome. So I made a good name for myself. I guess I worked really hard, right? And I then was introduced to Rich Miller in Paris by the CEO from Europe. And I agreed to go to Copenhagen. I started to 7 years abroad. 7 years abroad, you start to think about, okay, do I stay abroad now?
Yeah.
And make my way here and build a life and a career and take it to the next level? Or do I go home to Denmark? And I thought 7 years, okay, it's also maybe time to go home and just, explore Denmark. I started to miss my own language a little bit. I was just thinking that could be nice too, because I just kind of started to become a little bit more mature. 27, the wild case.
He was calling for you a little bit.
He was starting to call for me, and I was like, okay, it could be okay. So I went to Denmark to visit them and spoke to them and met Rich and his wife, and they gave me an offer, and I was thinking about it. I was couldn't refuse. It was a great offer, and I was like, fuck it, I'm gonna do it. So I moved to Denmark actually after 7 years abroad, and I remember I came to Copenhagen. And Copenhagen I'd lived in all these big cities now. And I came home to Denmark and Copenhagen, which was much smaller, but it's just so cool. And it was just so amazing because meeting so many cool people that spoke your own language, understood your humor, our black humor in Denmark.
Yeah, exactly.
And I just loved it. I was thriving. It was the best times of my life. I met so many great people and so many friends that I'm still best friends with today, actually. Mm-hmm. So I never thought I should move at that time. And
what year is this approximately?
I'm 26 now. And that means I'm born in 72. So that was 98. So 98, I mean, it was crazy times. It was pretty fun. Was it just after the .com or just in the middle of the .com?
I think it was leading up to it.
Yeah, leading up to it. Exactly. So things were pretty on fire.
Yeah.
I started on a middle-level manager for Brødrene Andersen for Rich Miller, and there was 200 people that worked for him. We had there were 10 stores connected and one big main store in Copenhagen, and they had just opened up that Ralph Lauren store in Illum. It was a shop-in-shop. And I came and became manager for that and for some other things. But obviously, he was American in Denmark, and he was cool guy, 45, suit and tie, really slick guy, and talking fast. And for these older guys that worked in this store, they didn't catch on to everything he was saying. And also younger, some American guys just standing there, blah, 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 let's do this and that. But there I came in, right, from outside of Denmark, had been living outside Denmark for 7 years. I was like, high fly, let's do it. So me and him, we became best friends. And I became his right hand. And it was just drinking champagne at Victor on Fridays, eating strawberries, talking about big plans. And he was a very visionary, very cool guy.
Again, with the like-minded people, right?
We were really leveling here, right? And I had just finished my studies in Copenhagen about retail. So, which I thought at the end of the day, I was like, retail, where am I? I don't want to be in stores for the rest of my life. Am I going to use this education, which I think a lot of young people think?
Yeah.
But that came so handy because I just finished my education about retail experience. I had so much experience. I knew so much, so I could really take it to the next level with him. He had so many plans, and he had one motto I just love about him because he had investors. He's like, money's no issue. And I was like, okay, whoa, let's go. So I like that mindset.
Heard that before.
Yeah, exactly. And I was like, okay, I like that. So he's like, we have this store out in one part of the city, Vestervåga. What should we do there? It's old and shitty. Let's make it a cool jeans store. I'm like, let's cool jeans store. I'm like, let's do it. what name? And we like, yeah, just come up with some names. So we made a competition with the staff. They could win like 5,000 Danish for a cool name or something. Came up with a name, boom, and then we just turned it into a cool jean store. Hey, let's go and buy some jeans. We flew to Amsterdam, London, wherever, to find all the cool jean companies and just placed orders. And it's just like flew in with orders and jeans, and it was crazy times. He had investors in the company, and he wasn't being. I mean, I would say it was a big transformation he did, and he lost complete overview.
Did you have equity in this at all, or?
Oh no, I was only hired. Within 6 months, though, I did become his right hand. So I was actually escalating from being a middle manager on Ralph Lauren, like one of the stores, there's 10 stores, right? To go in and come higher up. Suddenly I promoted to being director of the company and his right hand. Which
now
was...
You're inside the engine room now.
I was like there. And I was wearing, my Ralph Lauren pinstripe suits. I had a ponytail down. I looked quite different than everyone else, right? And I think the other guys on my age of the company was like, what the fuck is this guy, man? And it's like, people just couldn't believe it. It was just like, I just escalated too fast. But I was hanging around Rich all the time. I worked like a maniac, I will say. So when all the other guys, they came in at 10 and they left at 6 or 7 or whenever we closed, I was working till like 10, 12 o'clock at night with him or without him. So I really he gave me so much responsibility and trusted so much in me. So I just elevated with that and wanted to show him as well. And also I was just so driven and I just loved it. So
you're just proving yourself every step of the way.
Yeah, basically. So he's like, I trust you. He taught me everything. I learned so much from him. However, he was wild. I mean,
he was American.
He was American, and I understand that today.
It kind of seems like you attract the wild type, to be honest.
I guess I attracted, he attracted, I don't know if I attracted him or he attracted me. It was a match made in heaven. Now again, going to Paris like 4 times a year, obviously, me having a background with Ralph Lauren, going to all the showrooms, he loved it because I knew everyone from all the stores around Europe. So him and me going there together, out for dinners with all the cool people, and we just had a blast. Then we would go to London to buy cool brands from London. Then we would go to Munich. We would just fly around Europe and do cool shit. So, but he was also spending. He had a high spend.
He also liked the glamorous style.
He loved it. And the problem, that was a little challenge with that. It was not his own money. He had investors. And I saw, him just going quite a little bit overboard. And then, but he could have. I didn't care about that if we had been making money back home. The problem is we were rebuilding that big store and it was costing us a fortune. And he had lost complete overview of the rebuild. Money was just like, we had the most expensive, it would be handles being handmade in London with leather wraps on or whatever. He just went ballistic. He spent so much money. He wanted really to do it like as Harrods in Copenhagen. And he didn't even have funding. It was one family mainly that funded it. And they were so sweet. And I got along with them very well. It was an older gentleman, Ole Bjergaard, who had built a company with office furniture. He was more conservative and really nice, but his sons loved Ralph Lauren, and he did too. So they were kind of lured into this whole world, I felt. And then they had invested money, and they kept investing, and it just Rich kept burning through the money with a pretty high spend. And, after a while, they kind of got the handle. They saw what was happening. They realized this is just crazy. What do we do here? And they came to me and told me that there might be some changes coming. And I was like, oh, wow, okay. I felt so bad. And if I had seen or heard, I I told them, in all honesty, this is how it lays. Yeah. Because I had to,
Yeah.
And then...
it's always best to play it straight.
Oh, totally. Because, what could I do? I didn't know the exact budgets yet. I knew everything else, but I didn't really look. I didn't have access into the boardroom.
No.
So I didn't know how bad it was. Anyways, I realized when I saw some numbers, and I had to tell them because they asked me straight up. So I was very transparent and honest with them, and they're like, okay, good. Monday, we're going to call. This was Friday or Saturday or something. They said, Monday, we're going to call for a board meeting. So they did that. And then they called me in Monday late afternoon and said, okay, so Rich will step down and you're going to step up. You're going to be the number one now in the company. You're basically going to be the boss of everything.
Okay. That sounds like a big moment.
That was a big moment also. I was like, whew, okay, wow. Because Rich was the one who's been carrying me up, really to the top. And now me, Rich, and the chairman of the board had to walk around to tell all the 200 employees in small groups. Like first we pulled like 50 or 30 together. And then we did small groups in all the stores, like 5, 10 here and there. And Rich would be explaining like, I decided to step down. I'm still sitting on the board, but I'm not, running the company anymore. Yannick will be running it from now on. And that was a big thing. And also, I was standing with a lot of people that were a lot older than myself. Mm-hmm. I was 26 or something, yeah. And 26 I was. And, we were speaking to, we had old tailors that were sitting like on the chairs, on the table still doing suits for like the prime minister in Denmark and stuff like that. Yeah, so it was very, very conservative, very snobbish environment. So obviously that was a big stepstone for me. Suddenly, I was leading it. And then I dived into the numbers and all that. It took me a week or something. And then I realized how bad things were. And they were bad. We'd just been spending all the money. That was not, we were not selling enough. We had a half-finished shop and we were bleeding money.
Okay.
So we had to come up with a plan to...
I was going to say,
what do we do now? And they asked me to make a plan. So I came up with a plan. And it sounds totally crazy, but the plan was we are going to sell more or less everything, all the stock, and sell all the stores off. And then we're going to minimize the loss because you're never going to make money here. And they were like, that was a tough one to present to them.
Yeah, I could imagine.
So I basically had to sit and tell them that. And they looked at it, they thought about it, they hired a big law firm in Copenhagen to look through it. And they came out and said, he's right. This is the way to do it.
Okay.
And the plan is amazing. And they ended up hiring a law firm and we did that exact thing. Then from there, I actually ended up coming in with an offer myself and bought Ralph Lauren and Illum's out that we just opened 6 months before that. And I said, I want to buy that store myself. And they're like, okay, you can buy it for that much. That sounds fair. But then Rich Miller, who was my predecessor, the CEO, he actually had found new investors. He was then being blacklisted after this happened. They're like, wow, this guy. Yeah. So it was pretty tough because he had his whole family working for us. And in the next coming month, I had to fire his family one by one here and there. Nasty.
Sounds painful.
It was painful because I loved Rich, actually. I still loved him. He was a wild guy, but I did love him. And he was so much fun to hang out with. And he taught me a lot. And he gave me so many opportunities. So I'll forever be grateful to him. Anyways, it was totally fair. He was being kicked out of the company, and then he had found a new investor. He's a good, smooth talker, this guy. He's really good. So he had new investors. He came in and he put a great offer on the Ralph Lauren store. And obviously, the company now was kind of being controlled by lawyers too. So they had to sell to the highest bidder. So I had to come in with a high bid. So people thought I got that store really cheap, but I didn't. I actually paid a pretty high price for it.
How did you finance that?
That's a great question. And it sounds crazy, when I was like spending all my money when I was in my early 20s, right? But when I was 24, 5, 6, every summer I worked in Ibiza, as I told you.
Yeah.
That money I actually saved up.
Okay.
All of that money. It was about $10,000 a summer I could save up. So I had 30K saved up. So I bought a building with my dad in Vejle, split half, where I put that down. And then we sold that when I moved back to Denmark. And that got up a little bit in price, split the money. Okay, fine. I got my part out anyways. I think my dad bought me out. And so he kept that. And then that was first, it was a small apartment building with 3 apartments, in Vejle. It doesn't cost a lot. Yeah. But I was already like, I talked my dad into it. I was into this real estate, making money, So he's like, what the fuck are you talking about? I'm like, yeah, I think, why not? Let's try it and stuff. So I got a little bit of money, not a lot, now maybe 50,000 at that time. And I put that down as a down payment on an apartment in Copenhagen when I moved there. The real estate market in Copenhagen was on fire. So for the next 7 months, that apartment just went like up like crazy. It was actually one bigger apartment and a small apartment that belonged to it in the same building. So I got 2 apartments. Okay. For 1.3 million Danish, $200,000. No, less at that time, right? And the market just went fucking skyrocketed while I was being employed. At this time now, we're talking 7 months later, I can actually buy Ralph Lauren, but I need money for it. So I took a loan out from the bank and put my apartment in as security.
Yeah. Okay.
So they gave me the loan to buy. So I did that. And so I managed to just scrape that money together. Did that, bought Ralph Lauren. There was 2 stores over there. And then I continued with that while I was still holding a huge sale in the other stores. And I was still working actually for that law firm and the older investor for the next 3-4 months. So I was getting my salary, working for them on the side while I was starting to venture over to my new business. And that was my first startup where I really got serious. So huge for me. And
that was about 26, 27?
I'm 26 now.
26.
I just turned 20, just before I turned 27. So now, I live in Copenhagen. I just moved home like 8 months prior. I own Ralph Lauren store in Copenhagen, which was like the hottest brand at that time. Everyone who was modern in Copenhagen came in to shop Ralph Lauren. So it was like...
I'm just like really curious because when you were, since you were young and you bought that magazine back in the store, back in your hometown, and then all throughout the journey, it's this fashion and everything that's really been appealing to you.
Yeah.
What has it been that's like really reached out to you and appealed to you in that? And then now you're 26, you got your own Ralph Lauren. Like that must have been an incredible feeling to have.
Oh, I was like, I was flying around, man. I felt so good about myself. But it was kind of full circle what I dreamt about. Now I have my own store. First of all, I was working in Illum's department store, right, which was really cool at the time. I had the coolest brand in there, which was Ralph Lauren. It was like the hottest thing. And I owned it. I mean, I owned the furniture and the brand and all that, and I was still going to Paris 5 times a year or something to buy the collections. So it was really just like a super fun time and like great world. And I was just like, I loved it. And I had learned so much being with Rich Miller over doing the other things, so to speak, for Brød & Andersen and all that. So I learned so much in that past year and also being a store manager in Hamburg for Ralph Lauren. So I was kind of in a good place in my life. I will say then I went completely overboard. I was like, okay, let's go. So it was like nightclubs, NASA on Saturdays, table, drinking, spending money like never before. I bought a Harley. I was like living that life. And I remember I came out with, after like the first year, I had made a huge plus, but then I took off. And then the next year I made a huge minus and I was uphill from there. It's just like, so I really learned come on, man, pull it together.
What was the biggest thing you learned in your first Ralph Lauren? That was your first company you had on your own. What was the biggest growth or learning that you had in that?
I thought I could just walk in the skies. And I was super hardworking, but I was just like, burning the candle in both ends. I was like partying hard, working hard. And I thought I was the shit. So I was just like going out, spending money like crazy. Suddenly started buying bottles, all that shit.
Yeah.
And, stupid things like you need to do because you're stupid and young and all that kind of stuff that doesn't mean anything. And like to me today, because I'm a mature man, it doesn't mean anything. But like at that age, I just needed it. I came from nothing. I came from the countryside, just moved to Copenhagen. I thought it was also so funny, because I was meeting a lot of cool people from Copenhagen. I was dressed really cool and I was like really, up here. And people were like, what the fuck? You're from Jutland? I was like just so full of myself.
Yeah.
Going to nightclubs, lots of girls, sunglasses on. They're like, what the fuck is this idiot, man? Like, who does he think he is? And then, I opened my mouth. They're like, what? You're from Jutland? And it was just like really fun times. Obviously, I have an accent from the countryside, and I still have. And that was just good memories. But I had to learn like my lesson also, just like keep my spendings together, like take it easy and all that kind of stuff. The question is, have I ever learned that since? I'm not sure, but I definitely could have had a lot more money had I been more moderate in my lifestyle, I would say.
So,
but I did learn
more money, less memories, maybe.
Yeah, that's the thing. I've had a great life and a lot of memories. What happened from there on was that there was another guy. He was spending even more money than me. He was my neighbor. He was this oil trading guy, and he was really going wild. He had opened the Tommy Hilfiger store next to Ralph Lauren at the time. And he had an oil trading business where he was making money and he was just going wild. He had bought a little private jet and he had also taken a license so he could fly to Holland himself and buy it. So he was really next level.
Okay.
He had bought a big house north of Copenhagen. He opened a couple of coffee shops and then the whole thing just burst. And he just had no money from one day to another. So, he couldn't even pay his employee. And then that means Tommy Hilfiger was just standing next to me. From my times at Ralph Lauren, I knew the vice president of Tommy Hilfiger because he used to work for Ralph Lauren. So I had him speed dial, so to speak. So I found his number. I called him up, contacted him. He was working for Tommy Hilfiger in Holland. And I said, listen, it's Yannick from Ralph Lauren. You remember? I told him, I'm in Copenhagen. I own Ralph Lauren. I see Tommy Hilfiger right next to it. And I've heard this has happened. He's like, oh, it's terrible. He said, the guy has no money. He owes us for the goods or whatever. I said, I can run that for you. I want to take over. He said, Yannick, when can you be here? Come down to Amsterdam. I was like, boom, I can be there next week. Flew down to Amsterdam, made a deal with Tommy Hilfiger. And they obviously knew me. They said, and they loved Ralph Lauren, right? They were Tommy Hilfiger. They were like Ralph Lauren's smaller brother, I would say. More affordable brother. So I came down. I already knew the brand. I understood everything. It was just a copy of Ralph Lauren's kind of in a way, but different. And they were very aggressive and hungry to take over the market. So they gave me an amazing deal. I took over the neighbor stuff. So now a neighbor store in Illum. So now I also ran Tommy Hilfiger. And then I went to Polo and said, what about the Polo jeans line? Let's open up Polo jeans. And they're like, we love the way you work. Let's do it. We'll help you with this. If you can offer us this much money, we will give you the furniture cheap or whatever. And we will give you 60 or 90 days on the clothing instead of 30 days and all these kind of things to help me start.
Okay.
So
a lot of incentives.
Yeah, all of incentives to get it going because they were also aggressive. All the brands wants to open, right? They just need a good operator. So basically, when I was like 29, 30, I had 8 stores in Illum on 3 different floors. So I had Polo jeans for men and women. I had Ralph Lauren for men, Ralph Lauren kids, Ralph Lauren babies, Tommy Hilfiger jeans for men and women. So
like all separate stores?
All separate stores, but within the department store.
Yeah, okay.
So 50 employees working for me, all young people from like 16 to 27. A lot of hot girls, cool guys, and my own age. I was the boss. I was 30 years old, so it was amazing. Killing it. And great Christmas parties, lots of fun, but also...
you guys do good Christmas parties in Denmark, that's for sure.
We do, exactly. And now, I also, because obviously, I had these cool brands, I started to become friends with people in the restaurant scene and nightlife because I was going out so much, and that's what you do in Copenhagen, right? You go out a lot. And yeah, it was such a good time. But it was also a lot of work, like insane work. And I just worked a lot because I also had to fly out to showrooms now. That's what you did at that time. You flew to the showroom. So I had to fly to Amsterdam, like now with all these different lines, like 6-7 times a year. I also had to fly to London to buy the jeans, Polo jeans, 4 times a year. And I had to fly to Paris to buy Ralph Lauren 4 times a year. So I was like flying a lot in and out, like running my companies, running it with all these young people.
Yeah, that must have been really, really hard getting that to add up.
It was hard. And the young people were banging each other at Christmas parties, and then one was quitting. And I was like, fucking hell, I told you guys you're not allowed to, That's the one good thing I've always been very good at. You just don't do that. And so I tried to, even I was young and I understood the whole game, you have to kind of split people and say it's just not allowed in this company because it just ruins it. It will ruin things.
Exactly. Causes problems.
Yeah, but when one is 21, the other is 24, and they're both having a great time and standing talking to each other all day in the store, things happen.
Yeah, the risk reward gets a little
and whatever. So, but it was a lot of fun. It was a lot of hard work, but I was also now I've been in that suddenly. I had a great time, but when I was 33, I felt okay. I also want to start something else.
Yeah.
I'm ready. I've been in Illum's department store for 7 years. It's in a store and I'm tired of, I didn't even want to be, I was not on the store floor anymore, so to speak. I was in the background handling things, which is cool. Okay, so with 31, 32, I meet a friend of mine, Søren, who is a very social guy out in nightlife as well, hustler guy as well, out and about. And he has some outlet stores in Denmark. And he we become friends, and he offers me. He's like, listen, your network is really big in fashion. I have this outlet store. It's great money. Like you can make great money. But it's a lot of work, and it's so fucking boring to do it myself. I need a cool partner like you. Do you want a partner? And I'm like, yeah, I don't know. Outlet stores. I'm like coming from Ralph Lauren, Hilfiger, all the cool stuff. Now, do I really want to do outlet? And he told me about it. I thought about it, and I'm like, let's join forces. So me and him, we started our outlet business together. And through my network, to a lot of people from Jobland, basically all the clothing guys over there, I called up and said, hey, do you have any extra merchandise you want to sell? Because we have an outlet store, and he already had a store in Denmark, and I just needed to help him find stuff for it, and then we became partners. And a lot of them are like, yeah, we have so much old stuff, good stuff, shit stuff, whatever. You can come on and have a look. So we went on a tour to Jutland, drove around, just looked at stuff, and we bought pallets of, pallets for like, I don't know, $2 a piece and like this and that. And we got it back to Copenhagen, started selling it. It was so much work, but it was so much money.
So you say
There's good margins on that.
Yeah, it sounds like some serious margins.
High margins, a lot of cash, not a lot of tax. So we had a great life. We opened up a second store pretty fast in an old gallery that I found opposite Illum's, actually. So it was this old moldy gallery, and we told him we wanted to do an exhibition in there. And I sweet talked them, the landlord. So he's like, okay, you can have it for like a year. And then we opened up a clothing store. And he's like, well, that's not an exhibition. I'm like, it's a fashion exhibition. So he's like, oh man, you guys, okay, just fucking pay the rent and stay there.
Yeah.
But in 1 year you're out. And now it's like, okay, cool. So we made good money there. And I could take my old stuff from Ralph Lauren, like stuff we just couldn't sell in sales, and also sell there. So it's a great, way of selling pieces. We found a huge stockpile of pieces from a brand at that time that was called Reykjavik, like the Icelandic brand. It was not Icelandic, I think, but it's called Reykjavik. Really cool, high fashion. It was very big back then in Denmark as well. They went bankrupt. And they had like 50 pallets standing over in Jutland in a warehouse. And we ended up going over and made a deal on it, and we actually bought it. And then we opened our third store, which was a 500 square meter store on Nytorv, I think it's called, in Denmark. And we bought it from Dansk Røde Kors, I think. So we got the store from them, and then we worked, me and this guy, Søren, together for like 10 days. And I couldn't do it today, but we almost didn't sleep. And I remember it was like, I had no skin on my feet between my, it was just hard work. We worked nonstop, and we're like, okay, just let's fucking open. And it was just me and him. And we opened up, and there was 200 people in line. And we just made so much money. And I'm not even kidding you, our credit card machine broke down. So it was cash only. And it's just like, the money was amazing. So I did that with him for a couple of years, and that went well. We were going on business trip to Verbier skiing for inspiration. We went to Saint-Tropez in the summers, and we just blasted it. And it was basically a little envelope every Friday. We split the money. And it was just like,
the good old times.
You need a business like that. I had my legit business in Illum's, all the really like beautiful stores and all that stuff on the side. And then I just had this cash business hidden with him, where we're just making so much money. And it was just really good time. So I was making a lot of money on that. And then I started to see, okay, up in Illum's, the rents were so high. They just renovated Illum's. They were renovating, and they just raised the rent to ridiculous levels. And my margins were just slowly going down. It was like just getting thinner and thinner. And my interest also was like, okay, I mean, traveling, all this, like keep traveling so much, and like for this low margin and being up there, being squeezed, because a lot of the other stores would be like, let's say you own a brand, like I own Nialaya today. I open my own store there. That makes sense. It's PR, and we have a higher margin. Mm-hmm. But I was squeezed in between Ralph Lauren and Illum's. So I had to make my margin here. So there was not a lot of margin suddenly. I also, in the beginning, had higher prices on Ralph Lauren because I had monopoly in Denmark.
Yeah.
But I was working with the CEO for Magasin, and on opening a Ralph Lauren over there too. And he loved the idea, and he said, Yannick, I love the idea. I had meetings with them. They said, send us a plan. Sent them the plan. He's like, okay, let's do it. 1 week later, he was fired and they put in a new CEO. He looked at the plan and said, that looks fucking good. I think I'm going to do that. So Magasin just opened up their own Ralph Lauren store.
Oh,
and they started to and then they came in with the, I would say real prices, which was like the normal margin and not as high as mine. So, we couldn't make the money we were before. And the competition started to be bigger because Ralph Lauren wanted to grow and they started to sell to a lot of other shops. So I was like, okay, what should I do? I have the outlets on the side. I'm making so much money. That works well. And then I have Illums here. And I was like starting to just get tired of it, I felt. On the side of that, I had started a t-shirt business.
Okay.
I was getting lured into it, I would say, by this complete hustler. He's a notorious hustler, Henrik Bach, who was doing t-shirts at the time. I got introduced to him. A friend of mine owed me $2,000. Okay. And I had lent it to some friend of mine. And he couldn't pay me back. So he said to me, listen, if you put down $2,000 more, I'll buy t-shirt for it. I can sell it and make them all the money back to you. And I'm like, all right, whatever. 2,000 more. He went out and bought t-shirts. And I want you to meet another friend of mine. He said, this is a guy called Henrik. He has a bit of a bad reputation, a bit, put it lightly, but he's very good with in the t-shirt world. And I was like, what t-shirt world? Is there a world of that shit? And he's like, yeah, it's a world. And I said, okay. So I got introduced to Henrik. Very charming, nice. He was personal bankrupt for many reasons. He was a complete disaster, but I'll get back to that. He was personal bankrupt, no integrity, but he really kind of played me. And he was a nice guy, though.
Yeah.
So he was really sweet. And I got into the hands of these two guys. So before I knew it, I was an investor in a t-shirt company.
There you go.
Where we had 50,000 t-shirts in a fucking warehouse in Copenhagen. And I also had my outlets and I also had my stores in Illums. I had so many businesses and so much going on. I also had a girlfriend and it was just like...
You were spreading yourself thin now.
I was spreading myself thin. But, I was an entrepreneur. I'm 32, 3 at the time. And I make money. I spend money. Life is good, whatever, And then I'm like, this guy, Henrik, we were working together. I was so nice to him. He slept on my couch, this couch actually at the time. He slept on that couch when his girlfriend kicked him out. And me and my girlfriend said, come on out, you can stay with us for the night or whatever. I gave him a company car and I was kind of sponsoring, his lifestyle. He had a key. We got an office, a warehouse, a cool office in Islandsbrygge, and he was supposed to run this whole thing, right? Then I realized he was actually stealing at the same time. And that was the first time where I really felt this really bad feeling. I never experienced that before, where someone would cheat me. I've always really walked on clouds and just had so much luck, and everything I touched was just turned to gold, and life was just golden. That was really came to a shock to me, even also, because we were good friends. I helped the guy so much. So anyways, I found out and tricked him to make sure he fell in that trap I'd made, and now I knew. So
can I ask what you did?
Yeah, I placed some stuff that I had marked in the warehouse, and then he had the key. There was some Ralph Lauren stuff as well, and so I had marked some of the stuff, and I wanted to see if that would disappear, and then it did disappear. So we knew it, and then he had sold some T-shirts under another brand, and I also marked those into a shop, and I went out to that shop and found them with the marks I made inside. So I knew he was selling under the table.
Okay.
So he was really tricking me.
Damn.
Yeah. So, whatever. Anyways, he was driving a car I had given him. So we picked that up at 4 a.m. and then we changed all the locks in the night to everything that he had access to. And then we froze him out. And I remember he was first freaked out, oh my God, cried and all that. And then he went into berserk mode. I'm fucking gonna kill you, that kind of stuff. We were yeah, whatever.
Wild guy.
Yeah, wild guy.
Jeez.
Anyways, I'm like, okay, cool, whatever. So he's out, and I'm standing looking at like 30,000 blanks t-shirt and 20,000 with print, thinking, what the fuck do I do now? So I'm like, okay, I have an idea. I'm going to come up with more prints. I had no idea what I was doing. And then some funny, cool prints, print some of these t-shirts, and I'm going to sell them in our outlet stores. So I came up with this idea, make these metal frames, and that was hanging on the wall. And then I would get a wood plate to slide into it, and then I would wrap the t-shirt around it with the print on. And it looked really good. So we would make a whole wall we had 3 flagship stores. Actually, now we had 4 outlet stores now in key locations in Copenhagen. We were selling a lot of different stuff. So now I also packed my t-shirts in there, and they just started selling like crazy. And I was thinking, okay, that's also a good business. So I'm like, that could work. And I'm like thinking, all right, cool. Then me and my partner in the outlet, we started getting a little tired of each other. And I decided, okay, I'm over him, he's over me or whatever. So he ended up buying me out.
Okay.
So fair deal. We decided we didn't want to be partners anymore for whatever reasons. And then I said, listen, I want out, and you can get out. I'll keep the business, or I'll get out. You keep the business. Yeah. And he's like, yeah, okay, whatever. First he was like, yeah, you can buy it. But I'm like, cool, I'll buy it. And then how much is it worth? And then we couldn't figure out like, how do you price that? There's so much like, there's not really like, the money was just gone through. And so I said, listen, we made a deal. We sat down in front of each other, and we put a number on a piece of paper and put it in an envelope. And the highest number is what that person was willing to pay. And I know him. He's super tight and a low baller. So he obviously came into a super low number. So I came in with a decent number that I thought it was worth. And I gave him that. And he lost. So I'm like, thanks, I'll buy it from you from that then. So I had to buy it, let's say 500,000 Danish. Yeah. I had to buy it from him. And that was completely what it was worth. But of course, that was his only business. And then he called me that night and said, I'm so sorry. I was so low. He offered me 150 or something. Like I offered him 500. Okay. So he called me back and said, can we make a deal? I said, okay, fine. So he ended up actually buying me out for that.
Okay.
And he bought me out. And now I was out of the outlet. The t-shirts were starting to, sell so well in those outlets. So I was like, okay, I'm going on a fashion fair now in Bella Center, in the Copenhagen Fashion Fair. And I went out there with one guy. I called and said, listen, I think I have a business plan here. I have these t-shirts. I gave them to 2 other stores in Consignment. They're selling like crazy, I said. It was a guy I'd met in Germany. He was selling Marlboro Classics down there. And he's like, I'm unemployed right now. I'm selling this other shirt product. Okay, I'll take a chance. You've always been great, Yannick. You've always done so well. I'll jump on your train. And he's like, I'll quit. I'll join you next week. So he went with me to the Bella Center in Denmark, and on a fashion fair, and where we had put up these it was a small stall like this here. We'd put up like, 4 meters times 7 meters, 8 meters or something. We put up black background walls, and then we came with these metal frames. And then I had a handy guy I knew. He'd been out there screwing screws in. So we just came in and hung up the plates with the t-shirt prints on. And it looked so freaking good. It was all black, and then these colorful prints and colorful t-shirts. And we came in and we started to hang it up. And there was another huge t-shirt brand opposite us, and they were sitting laughing at us. And hey, what's up, guys? Are you new? Oh, we heard about this. What is this? Oh, yeah, this and that. We blew them away on that fair. And they were in shock. And we sold so much, and this t-shirt business took off like crazy.
Okay.
And I was like, this took so much of my time. And I was thinking, okay, I'm also tired of the stores and Illums. So I actually ended up selling the stores and Illums.
Okay.
So I sold them and made some money, which was good.
Yeah.
So I had a little bit of money now. I mean, some. And then, but my girlfriend at the time, she said to me, listen, man, like, what is the plan here for me and you? Because you are working all the time.
Yeah. Classic entrepreneur.
Yeah, you had another boat
You've heard that before, I suppose.
Exactly. The classic, right? She said, your dog is number 1, your business is 2, and I'm 3. I'm like, that's true. and she's like, but listen, I'm like here on standby. I would want to know, what's the future? Are we going to get married, kids? What the plans? Like, whatever. And I said to her, okay, give me 1 more year. I'll sell Ralph Lauren, and then I'll sell the t-shirt business. and then I'm free. Then I'll chill a little because then I have some money and stuff. She's like, okay, sounds good. She's like, then I'm going to go to New York and I want to go to acting school and be an actor. She had decided to quit her job at a PR agency. So she's like, I want to go to acting school in New York. And that's my dream, to become an actress. And I was like, that sounds great. More time to me to work. Perfect. And she actually got into that school and she did leave. That was a little bit weird in the like, I went over with her and dropped her off, so to speak. And it was weird. But when I got back, I was like, it was perfect. I was thriving. She was not there. I could just work like a maniac, which I did. And I loved it. I was just me, my dog, and my work. And I was going out with my friends on the weekends. Perfect. Texting with her. And then I went to New York every 3 weeks. I just flew over for the weekend. That was actually enough, I realized.
Yeah.
So, okay, cool. And that worked fine. Then I did that for a year. Yeah. I'm texting her, like, whatever. It works totally fine. A long distance relationship, I realized.
Also with the time zone.
Yeah, it's totally fine.
Yeah.
I'm not like, I don't know. I guess I wasn't so dependent on her anyway. She was not dependent on me as well. She was living out her life, and we were together.
You still had the dog in your time zone.
Yeah, my dog was here. My business was here. I loved life.
Yeah.
So it was cool because I just had time to think and stuff, and I sold Ralph Lauren company, which I had, but now I only had the T-shirt. I was killing it with the T-shirt company. We became one of the biggest in Europe. We sold to like 1,500 stores in Europe, and it was just like great. And things are going really well. So basically, my girlfriend was supposed to come back. And then on a trip, I was in New York visiting her. She's like, listen, I want to do another year over here. And I was like, all right, cool. So I was like, okay, another year. That I thought was long. I remember. So so I said, okay, I think why don't I just sell my business and move over here? So I would actually sell my business, I decided, and then move to New York to be with her.
Your T-shirt business.
My T-shirt business.
Yeah.
Or maybe move it over or whatever. Just live in New York. I loved New York. It was so sick. I went over to visit. Obviously, we were out and about. And New York is just like amazing, right?
Yeah.
So I was like, that could be super cool. New adventure. And I was also starting to be like, Copenhagen was so cool. I just had like the most amazing years there. And now I started to come to a point where people started to have kids, family, and things starting, then the divorce. Then they find another one. It just started to be very predictable. I could just see my future laid out already. And I just like thought, shit, man, that I'm not sure that I can do. And then I also thought the weather is just insanely hardcore.
Yeah.
And
that's like the one bad thing about Denmark, kind of.
It's the only thing, because Denmark is the most incredible country. Yeah. The weather is a little bit of a killer for me.
Yeah, that's a little rough.
Oof, it's a little rough, yeah. So I was like, okay, let me make a plan. So we decided that I was going to move to New York to her. Then I did sell my T-shirt business. I had the money there now. So I was actually, okay, well off. Like I had enough to start for our first 5 years over here without, actually doing anything. So I saved up a little bit. Not crazy, but.
How was that for you, actually, when you had to sell off both Ralph Lauren, which I'm kind of guessing was really like your baby? That was like your first company?
It was my baby, but I got to a point where I just had too much.
Okay.
And I know, so it's okay.
It was time.
And I was like, I just felt like, listen, that was, I was totally clear in my mind about it. It was cool. And the T-shirt business, also my baby, I had so much fun, but I also maxed it out. I'd sold so many T-shirts to my customers. I'm like, I'm selling at the fucking peak. And I did. because my customers like, we can't buy any more T-shirts. So I really like peaked it out, slammed down some numbers, and the buyer was like, wow, you're selling a lot. Like, that's crazy. We will buy it. The buyers that bought it were like super hustlers, right? They bought it off me, and then the one thing I remember about the sale of my T-shirt company, I was so engaged. I was so passionate. I was working so hard. I was working day and night again. Like really, I was packing T-shirts myself at nighttime and boxes and shit, like for customers, because we were so busy. But when I sold it, that flame just went away like that.
Yeah.
I was supposed to stay on as a CEO for 3 months to kind of get the new owners in. The flame died.
Yeah.
It was like crazy. I got the money, went back to work, and I sat there and I'm like, I have no energy for this.
That must be like a true entrepreneur.
It was so weird.
Once it's not yours, then
it was so weird. And I also felt like, fuck, got to pull it together. So, I wanted to be a nice guy and put a good example. So I did work my best, but I was just like, inside I was dead. So they were like, but they thanks God, these two guys, they were like punks. They were like, oh man, this guy, he doesn't know what the fuck he's doing. We can do this much better. So they said to me literally after 10 days, hey, you know what? We don't need to, they paid me salary to be there. And they were so tight, right? So they're like, let's save the salary to this guy and just take over and do this ourselves. Yeah. So they did that. And they told me after 10 days, hey, would you mind if we quit your contract, you just leave? I'm like, yes. I'm like, no, not at all. I mean, if you want to, okay, sure. And I was like, yes. So I left and were literally unemployed. I was like, cool. Great. The two guys, they started to tell my staff, this guy, man, he's an idiot. Let's do it our way, bro. A year later, the t-shirt went bankrupt, more or less, the t-shirt company. So they managed to tank that. It took them 2 years, I think. Anyways, I had some money now. Of course, I couldn't sit still. I just take the fucking money and save them. I moved to New York with that. Two things happened. I bought a building in Store Kongensgade with like 6 apartments. Started renovating them with my own money. I had summer houses up on the North Coast. I've been doing a little real estate on the side. I had this, I had that. I was involved. I forgot to tell you guys. I was also involved in a project in Bulgaria, selling apartments down there. Because at that time, I don't know if you guys remember, but in 05, 06, 07, the real estate market in Denmark was hot. People were buying like anything. The loans were cheap. They were buying anything, and prices were just going through the roof. So they took their money out and bought apartments in Bulgaria, which was the new thing. I was, of course, involved in that. I was selling apartments to Danish people down there, and I bought one penthouse myself, and I was involved in a lot of stuff. My girlfriend in New York, she decided, I came on a trip, and she's like, I just don't feel it anymore. Let's break up. I was like, okay. Shit, yeah. Rough. I was like, wow, that's pretty shocking. Okay, cool, whatever. So then I went back to Copenhagen. I had an affair pretty quick with one of my old employees from Ralph Lauren, actually. There you go. Just a full circle.
No more Ralph Lauren, no more rules.
Yeah, she's not working anymore, but she was always a pretty girl. So I started dating another girl, and we're working in real estate now, and I had already made up my mind. I'm moving to the US. So I'm like, what the fuck? Because I have in my mind, this is what I'm going to do. So I remember I sat down and I'm like, okay, whatever, ex-girlfriend or not, I don't care. I'm moving to the US with or without her. Where am I going? So I did research. I was looking at Miami, where I had lived when I was my early 20s. I forgot to tell you that, but that was also Miami. I'd been to Miami, and I was like, I liked it, but it was so humid and it's so hot in April. Like you can't even walk on the beach. It gets so burning hot, and I sweat like a lot when it's very humid. So I remember I would walk out and just be like. So I was
that's
like,
not weather for a Danish person.
It's not. That's not me. And I was like 77% Hispanic speaking. Like it's just like too much for me. I was like, it's that. I like the idea because it was so cheap to live and buy and whatever, real estate or whatever I want to do. But I felt it was more like a vacation city. I was looking for long-term living now because I'm actually moving out of Denmark, which is a freaking big move. Yeah. I mean, I was now turning 35, and I had owned all these businesses in Copenhagen. I really made my mark on the city, so to speak, having had so much fun, so many friends, and now I'm packing up to move outside. This was going to be a big move for me. Yeah. Also, 35 years old, just packing up, moving. You have all your friends, your family, you have the best life. I mean, I had a sick life there. I lived in Silon, and that's Silo in Islandsbrygge. I had a penthouse out there overlooking the sea. I mean, my life was incredible. And people were like, what the fuck, are you moving? Hey, you're just moving to the US? Yeah. Why? Yeah. And I was like, I just felt like something was drawing me over here. And I was like, my dream was, and that comes back to entrepreneurship, my entrepreneurship. My dream was really to go to the US and test my entrepreneurial genes, my skill sets over here in the hardest and most competitive market in the world. And I wanted to come over to the US and see if I could do the same as I did in Copenhagen with success and all that kind of stuff. So I was like, I'm up for it. So I was researching Miami, no. New York or LA, that was it. Okay. I'm not going to Kentucky or something. So I was like, okay. So I was like, yeah,
I can't say I blame you, to be honest.
yeah. So I'm like big city guy, right? New York, LA. Okay. New York was a super cool place, but I was like 35 and I just partied like since I was 15. And I knew if I was like in my 20s, that would have been great. Party, nightclubs, chicks, all that stuff. And like, networking. But I was like also going somewhere else in my life. I knew that wouldn't be forever.
Yeah.
The weather in New York, brutal in the winter.
Yeah.
I just came from Denmark, brutal. Yeah, like for like 7-8 months. So I was like, I want to go somewhere sunny. And where is the best climate in the world? California. Where is all the movies? Good looking people, working out, palm trees, blue skies, all that shit. I was like, I'm going to LA. And also, besides that, I didn't want to go to New York where my ex-girlfriend was because she's there. I see new people. I'm just going to bump into her all the time. I'm like, fuck that.
You need a fresh start.
I need fresh start.
Like fresh everything.
I'm going to LA. And I'd been here once before for 4 days. I went here with a friend to visit another friend that had moved here from Denmark. He just moved here and he was a chef. Oh, he was a waiter. And so we went to visit him here and we stayed at the Mondrian like everyone does when you come here first. And we went out with him for like 4 or 5 days and that was fun. And wow. And I was like, fucking hell, this is sick. I love it. The weather, it's like, I'm going to go home now. I told my friend, I'm going to sell my business. I'm going to move here in a year. He's like, you're nuts. And then I went home and I did sell my business, right? And all that stuff. And I sold like most of the real estate, tried to sell most of the real estate. There was one little thing about me moving here. It was in 2008. And I had money and I had a lot of it and I just pumped it into real estate. I'm like, I'm going to do this and then I'm going to go to the US and just live off this and sell some of these properties. It's going to be so easy and this and that. And then I moved over here, packed everything down and shipped the container over. Little side note, just before I did that, the girlfriend from New York came home and found out that I've been dating another girl, whatever, blah, blah, blah. We actually started dating again. So we picked it up one more time. And I said to her, listen, why don't we start fresh? You come to LA, I'll give you a car. You can do your acting. You want to be an actress? It's LA.
You gotta be in LA.
Yeah. What are you doing in New York anyways? She's like, makes sense. I'd love to. Let's do it. She finished acting school. I moved here on 3rd of March. We're talking 2008. She moved here when she finished school in July or something, right? Things got really bad in real estate and the economy everywhere in the world. I more or less lost everything. And I came with a little bit of savings, right? I had some with me, but I had most of it tied up in Denmark, which I was just like, I sold the building in Store Kongensgade 3 times, but none of them could lift the financing. And I sold, first time, it was a really wealthy guy. He just bought to his portfolio. Second guy, another guy with a lot of money, he couldn't lift it either. And I was like, what? And I was thinking, what the fuck is happening? Then I sold it again to a third guy, and he's like, banks won't lend any money out. I'm like, fuck, what do I do now? So I just spent literally 70% of my cash renovating that building. All the apartments were renovated, this and that. I ended up actually going back to the guy who I bought it from and gave him the keys and say, here, you just take it over again. Here you go. So I didn't lose anything. I had loans in it, and he'd given me a loan too. I couldn't even hold up the loan. So I was really like scrambling now. I had already moved here.
What was that like? Like, take us into that moment for you. Like,
so
take us
hard.
Yeah.
So it was a slide because it didn't happen in 2008 right away. It happened in 2009.
Yeah.
It took time. Things started happening. In 2008, I was still like, but I had moved here. I moved to LA. I got a room in a house with 2 other guys. I just rented a room. And then, my girlfriend from New York was going to come here. So I wanted to find a nice place for her. So I drove around and I actually found a little house in the hills with cool views, but it's the last street all the way up. And I got a deal and I paid $5,500 a month, which is a lot here, a lot in Denmark, but it's not a lot in LA.
Yeah.
So we rented that, me, her, I still had money, I thought. So I was like, $5,500, it's okay. So she came and she moved in with me. And then things started to slowly go down for me. And I could pay for the house. We got approved. We rented it. We had a great life. We lived, nice, modest, normal, because I was like, she knew the situation. I had all the real estate. I was getting money slowly, some rent, some this, that came in. I was kind of living, as we go. My plan when I moved here was to start a magazine.
Okay.
So it's not jewelry. I just came up with the idea of doing a magazine because I had a friend in Copenhagen who was doing a magazine for 5-star hotels, Hotel d'Angleterre and stuff like that. I saw his lifestyle was amazing. I thought he didn't work too much. And I was like, I work like a horse. I can do better. But it was not so easy, to just do magazines. So it took me 6 months to get a contract with a hotel. I got that with a couple of hotels in Santa Monica. So it's basically a magazine that you give to the guest in the rooms and in the lobby or whatever. And it's free, paid for by the advertisers to me. Mm-hmm. So I made a contract with the hotel, and now that took me 6 months. Now I needed 6 more months to sell ads. I was out working my ass off, slaving for it. And now the financial crisis has hit. People had no money.
Yeah.
Stores were empty here. Galleries, everything just closed. People are like, money for advertising? We don't have it. I needed that magazine off the ground, right? So I was doing barter deals everywhere. I had so many chairs and rocks and all kind of shit that I had changed for ads, but I had no money. So I did the first one, came out, beautiful magazine. I got some Danish companies to do it too. Shambhala was one of them, Ole Henriksen, other cool things. And some from here, it was car rental companies, furnitures, all that kind of stuff. Everyone told me, listen, the next one's going to be easier because you just sold like drawings, which is true. Now you have a real magazine. Yeah. So I did it another 6 months, but it was so hard. And I made no money. Oh. I made a beautiful magazine. The advertisers loved it. The hotels loved it. The guests loved it. Everyone loved it. But I made no money. And my girlfriend, she had moved here now. She's a good writer. She wrote. I had moved another friend over from Copenhagen who was doing all the graphic work. He still lives here, by the way. And so we were us three putting that magazine together. Art, music, jewelry, whatever. Cars, fashion. But I was thinking to myself, okay, I made no money for 1.5 years. I'm like low on cash. I'm bleeding money. I called the landlord and said, listen, I can't afford to live here anymore. I'm like, so they're like, well, Yannick, we love you as a tenant. You're so nice and you take care of the house. How much can you afford? I said, I can pay $3,500. They're like, just stay, pay $3,500. I was like, okay, I'll stay. So that was nice.
Okay, that was really nice.
Yeah, it was a good job. So $3,500 for a sick house in the hills with crazy views. And like, I was like, all right, cool, I'll do it. And then it's like, I was thinking, okay, I need to go back at what I'm good at. Yeah. Fashion. I also missed it. Selling advertising to like fucking stores, man, out in Santa Monica. I walked up and down Montana Avenue, which is like a little exclusive store with all kind of coffee shops and whatever. Yeah. And I remember it was just so hard. I remember this one time I walked over to a jewelry store with my bag across. I was like motivated. Now I'm going to sell this guy a fucking ad. And this guy was just standing in the door, in the glass door, looking at me. It was big glass windows in the glass door. And he's standing looking at me like in a suit, just looking at me. And then I came over, walked over to him, and he just locked the door in front of me, and he went like that. And he just turned around. And he just turned around and walked away. And I was just like, you bastard. And like, but people are assholes here. And I learned that the hard way. I worked so freaking hard. It was insane. I got it off the ground, and I realized I didn't move all the way to LA to do something I don't love. Yeah, no. Like, I don't love doing this. And I didn't move around the world, say bye to my family and friends, to live over here, to do something I don't like. So I was like, new plan. Entrepreneur, let's do this. What can we come up with? So I knew Shambhala, obviously. All my friends were wearing it. Even when I had money, I was like, that's too fucking expensive for me. I didn't want to spend money on that. And I thought, there must be other cool guys out there that likes cool cars, watches, clothes, travel, all the stuff that I like, that wants cool jewelry. But they don't want to spend like $10,000 for a bracelet. Yeah. I'm like, there must be a couple. And I'm like, I want to make a jewelry brand that caters to them. So I came up with that idea. I met a shaman in India, Goa, and he told me about spiritual beads. I bought some spiritual beads, just beads, blue lapis, matte onyx, whatever. Downtown LA, I bought a drilling machine, and then I bought some string. And then a friend of mine who had a jewelry company over here in LA already, he taught me how to make the lock, how I could do that and braid. Ah, okay. And I was like, fuck, I can do that. So I was sitting in my garage now at an IKEA table, literally braiding bracelets and trying to drill holes and all that shit. And I think my Danish girlfriend, that girlfriend at the time of the movie, she's like, what the fuck is she doing now? So she's like, I'm moving out. So we'd been together now for 7 years in total, right? Had already broke up and stuff. And we were actually never like that good of a match. But so she moved out. I was sitting in my house, in the garage, in the corner, trying to make bracelets, fighting for survival. A side note, listen, I was so poor when she came over, like she finally moved over here, that I couldn't buy her that car. I promised her. I literally couldn't buy her a car. So I had to go to Rent a Wreck. Do you guys know what that is? Rent a Wreck.
Oh, yeah. We've seen it on the highway. Yeah.
It's a company where you can rent a wreck, as I say. And it's not like a nice car, it's a wreck.
Yeah.
But it's like $70 a week. But it's like you get the shittiest car you can find. And she had to get around. We lived in the hills. You couldn't even get down. Like it took 20 minutes to drive down to the supermarket. So I said to her, listen, I can't. I had my own car, but she also needed one because I was going to sell ads or what I was doing. But she was Danish, right? She was cool. She actually was cool. She's like, I'll take it. So she was on that level with me. I always appreciate her for that. I would say it this way, apart from my wife today, the girlfriends I've had in the meantime, they would have left right away. None of them would have been okay with that. Let me just put it that way. It was so bad. So we found her some shitty cars she could rent from this rental companies, Rent a Wreck, and she drove around and she was cool with it. Amazing. Anyways, she had enough of me. She moved out, whatever. It was not too bad. It sounds crazy for 7 years, but I had started this jewelry brand now, and that's what I was passionate about. I had rented out 2 rooms in the house now. No, 1 room in the house to my friend downstairs. He paid $1,500. So I only paid $2,000. My buddy said, listen, now she moved out. It's great. It's just us. I'm like, yeah, that's it, man. Fucking bachelors, let's party. And he's like, I have a friend coming from Tokyo, a Danish guy. He works in advertising. He wants to rent a room. Should we rent the other rooms? I'm like, yeah, sure. How much? $1,500. So he came, he paid me $1,500. So basically I was just paying $500 in rent now myself. So they handled the rent. That was good. So everyone was happy, right? And she moved out on a Friday. I went on a date the following Wednesday and didn't really want to, but I got talked into it. And I went out with this Russian Danish girl that lived there for 10 years.
Okay.
With big boobs. She was a playmate. And I said no, but she showed me the picture of this girl, her friend of hers, and I'm like, all right, let's do it. So I went out on a date with her.
You got lured into it.
I got lured in. I couldn't say no. So I went out and she was a fun girl. She was super cool, Masha, and we started dating right after, just right away. So I had a new girlfriend right away. And then my business, the jewelry business, right? I had now gotten into 2 stores here in LA. 1 store was selling really well. And they're like, Yannick, man, it's going fucking well. We're selling like crazy. I'm like, yes. I remember, so from making bracelets, I got into, I was just still drilling and I started to try to like see what's up. I sold to some friends and whatever. People were like, yeah, it's cool, whatever. Oh my God, nice. And then I went out to a store in Malibu, gave them consignment, means I gave them 10 bracelets, convinced them. It was a store I knew from my magazine days. I sold them at that too. So I said, now I do bracelets. They're like, what? Okay, yeah, cool. Take them, see if you can sell them, pay me next month. They sold 5. And I'm like, got a check. That's pretty cool. That's cash flow. I need cash flow. Then I got into a store at the Beverly Center, which was a cool shop. And they're like, listen, we don't buy any new brands right now. We are the coolest store in town. We don't buy, but I'll give you a chance. We've never seen anything like it. It could be cool. Try it, give it to us and see what's up. I was like, amazing. So I gave them 50 bracelets or something. And I said, I'm going to Denmark now. It's Christmas. So I'm actually going to Denmark. And they're like, okay, cool. Call us when you're back. We'll see what's up. And I was like, all right. I went to Denmark on a one-way ticket because I didn't have money for a return ticket. That's how broke I was.
Damn.
Yeah. So I went to Denmark on a one-way now.
You didn't have to rent like a really bad airplane or anything. You got
I was flying Monkey.
You got to take the normal one.
It was Monkey. I would have done whatever because I even get a ticket was like for me just to get home. So I went home for Christmas and then I bought beads and string with me. And then I just sat home and made bracelets for my friends because I made little posters now and shit like that and showed them. They're like, oh, wow, it's so nice. Okay, good. So I was selling bracelets. I have pictures of when I'm sitting with a friend of mine, like make them in the coffee shop in Denmark. So I sold bracelets to my buddy so I can afford a ticket back. And that was great. So
real hustler mentality.
Real hustler mentality. And that's how broke I was. So I got back here, and I was here, and I called the store in Malibu and said, guys, how was Christmas? Was it great? And they're like, Yannick, we sold 4 bracelets, and it was Christmas. And I remember the guy said to me, honestly, dude, I think the trend is over. I'm like, the trend is over, man. I just started. Like, what the fuck? He's like, yeah, I don't think it's going to be anything for you. I'm like, okay, whatever. I'll come and pick up the check next week. And I said to myself, I don't want to call the big store in Beverly Hills the Beverly Center, because I remember this. It was like the 28th of December. I just got back. It was a heat wave here. It was 30 degrees. I said, I don't want to ruin my New Year's. I'm just going to tan and chill on the balcony for like 3 days. And I'm going to call them on January 2nd and see, because I can't take any more bad news right now. So I was like, oh man. On January 2nd, I called them. They're like, Yannick, oh my God, there you are. Where have you been? I said, I was in Denmark. Oh my God, you were in Denmark. We forgot. Sorry. Can you come and see us? And I was like, yeah, it's important. So come today. And I was like, okay, I'll come down. And I thought, fuck, man, I'm going to go down. I drove down. I think I'm going to pick up all the bracelets. It's just a disaster.
Getting ready for it.
Oh man, another one. Just like, it just sucks. Well, what am I going to do? So I came down to them, and they're like, what, dude, man, where were you? We sold every single piece. Here is a check, $7,000.
Whoa.
I'm like, what? Yeah, bro, we have like fucking 50 people waiting. Just go home and make some more. Come back next week. I was like, are you serious? They're like, yeah, man, just do it. We can sell everything. Like, these people loved it. We never see anything like it. I'm like, okay, really? Okay. So I went home. I worked that day and I worked that night. I didn't sleep at all. And next morning, 10 o'clock, I stood there with 2 trays full of bracelets. And they were opening. They're like, dude, what the fuck? Did you just make those? Yeah, I worked all night. Did you work all night to make those? Yeah, I've been working all night. I haven't slept yet. They're like, you are awesome. Okay, let's get it in, done. And they just sold them. Called me a week later, boom, sold everything. Bound, new check.
Okay, and now you're in the game.
Now I'm in the game. They became my best customer for a while.
But yeah, like, how was that for you to go? Like, you literally said, I'm going to stay out on the balcony and tan for 3 days because I just cannot face like this journey being over when I've just started it. And then you go down there and you get
it's
the complete opposite. How did you feel in that?
It was so relieved because I'd been so stressed, right? And it's also, you just like sitting, drilling holes and beads and putting strings through, and you're making bracelet. Come up with a name. I named it after the shaman I met in India, Nialaya. I just put some bracelets together. Do people like this stuff? I don't know anything about jewelry. I didn't even know like what's the difference between sterling silver and steel. I didn't know. Like I just learned it like along the way. I didn't know anything about jewelry. So, people ask me, is this silver? I'm like, yeah, it was silver plated. It's like, I had no idea. But in the beginning, it didn't even matter. People didn't care. The thing was, so what happened after this was like, it was a relief, right? Suddenly I had a store that was selling well. They could pay that's one store could pay for my rent, more or less. And that was just me. And my expenses were low at the time. And I was like, fuck, man. And I started to like dream like you do as an entrepreneur. You're like, what can this be? If I can sell just like, let's say I sell like 200 bracelets a month. And, if I get one more store that sells 20 and then one more, and if I sold 500 bracelets a month, then I could buy this and I could have that. And I started to like plan. It's like, wow. I mean, but in the beginning, it was just down to like selling like 60 bracelets a month, really. Yeah. It was just like really what it came down to. So I got my concept together. I started selling to more and more stores. That specific store I was selling to is a hotspot for celebrities. That was the game changer that I didn't know about yet. So after like picking up check number 3 or 4 or whatever, like after a couple of months, they're like, listen, Yannick, we have a lot of celebrities buying your stuff. And like, celebrities? Yeah, like, celebs. And I'm, okay, cool. And they're like, I was not impressed. And they're like, but that's a big deal. I'm like, really? Yeah, like, who are they? And they're like, this and that. I didn't know anyone anyway. No. So I'm like, oh, okay, cool. And then they're like, listen, this is a big fucking deal. I'm like, yeah, but I'm from Denmark and from my last time, like celebrities, whatever, man, who cares? But I knew, okay, this was taking off, good. So in the spring of 2009, I'm now in 10, spring of 2010. I just started this in 2009, right? I'm in Miami now to try to, I wanted to grow. So I was making money and I could buy a ticket to Miami. I want to get a store in Miami too. or 2 stores over there.
Yeah.
So I brought my samples over. I was going around to visiting shops. I stayed in my friend's apartment. I had a friend, a Danish guy, and I just slept on the floor on the mattress. And then I was out in the daytime hustling, trying to open a store. So I'm in the store talking to them. And I open up my bracelets. I'm standing there talking, explaining. And then he's looking at them. And a girl comes up to me, this Asian girl, and says, "Hey, are you Nialaya?" I'm like, "Yeah."
In Miami?
Yeah. Yeah. I mean, this is like 4 months after I started my brand. She's like, "You know, I know who you are. You sell at the traffic at the Beverly Center in LA." I'm like, "Yeah. I work with a lot of celebrities. We've been trying to get hold of you, but you don't even have a website." I'm like, "No." You're impossible to get hold of. And traffic don't want to give us your number. And I'm like, "Really?" She's like, "Yeah. Like, you do cool shit. Like, we need to talk." And I'm like, "Yeah, sure." I said, "Okay, I'll wait outside the store. You can finish with him." The guy was like, "Fuck it, I'll take it." the guy who owned the store, he's like, "Listen, it's consignment," because, you know, it's in the 2010, still super hardcore crisis in the US. Mm-hmm. He's like, "Listen, I'll take it in consignment. Send me 30 bracelets. If I sell, I'll pay you monthly for what I've sold the previous month." I was like, "Cool." So I go outside the store, I meet with her, and we sit down and have a coffee. She's super cool. She's like, "Listen, you know, I hang out with a lot of celebrities. I know this guy, I know that guy," blah, name dropping like crazy. And, you know, I was like, I'd already lived here for like 1.5 years. I'm like, "Yeah, sure." Oh, man, the LA way. And she's like, "Let me get your number. When I'm back, I want to set something up. You can meet some celebrities and it'd be cool for you. You know, like they want discount because they buy a lot, but you can really like benefit from this." I'm like, "Yeah, sure, cool. Okay, call me back." I went back to LA after I got a couple of customers in Miami now, and went back. I was busy. I was going to make bracelets and ship back to Miami to the stores. And, you know, I was out there grinding. Then 2 weeks later, she called me and said, "Hey, it's Lisa. I am at Paul Oakenfold's house." He was a big DJ at the time. "I'm up in the hills. I'm here with P. Diddy's girlfriend and some other cool people. Why don't you bring your bracelets up and come and show you what you got?" So I'm like, "Cool, I'll be there." Boom, drove up. And they were up there, like sitting, recording, whatever they were doing. I laid out my bracelets. Everyone's like, "Oh my God, it's cool. Like, nice. Okay, yeah, cool." So I sold a bracelet to Cassie, Diddy's girlfriend at the time. Now I say Diddy, I know it's not very popular at the moment, but anyways, at the time it was, 2010. Yeah. I sold a bracelet to her and she bought one for him. And then I sold a couple of others to a couple of DJs and whatever. And then I was like, cool, they got a discount. I was off. Next day, a guy calls me on my cell. "Hey, my name is Derek. I'm a P. Diddy stylist. I've just been to Ralph Lauren on Rodeo Drive and I saw this black guy. He was wearing your bracelet and I loved it." So I asked him and he said, "It was you who makes them and you're a friend of his. Can you make something like that for Diddy?" And I said, "Yeah, I can. Like, he wants something with red and crystals. And so can you make 2 pieces, please, and meet me tomorrow at a gas station here, whatever." And I did. Came down, he got a discount, bought them. I didn't think more of that. And, you know, I'm out and about hustling, trying to get more customers, this and that. And now it starts to pick up. I mean, I'm, you know, selling to friends. People love it. Everyone I show it, people are like, "This is fucking cool." And things are going. So fast forward, 18th of April, 2010, 2 months later or something, it's my birthday. So I know that date because I was sitting downtown LA. I drive down, I'm a little bit sick, and I'm sitting having dinner with one of my roommates. So we come down there, there's cops everywhere, police, and, you know, the whole parking lot is closed up. Be like, what the fuck is this? Anyways, we have dinner at the restaurant. Lisa texts me, "Hey, are you up?" I'm like, "Yes." It's 11:30 at night. She calls me. She's like, "Hey, what's up? I am here with Diddy. He wants to meet you. We're shooting a music video. Can you pick all your jewelry and come down and meet him? It'll be good for you." And I'm like, "Now?" She's like, "Yeah. I have to go home and get it." I said, "I can be there like 1. So yeah, come, we're here all night. We're shooting a music video." I said, "Where are you?" "I'll send you a pin." Boom, send me a pin. She was in the parking lot behind the restaurant. That's why it was closed off. So Diddy was shooting a music video with Big Rush and a new upcoming girl that I didn't know at the time. Her name was Nicki Minaj. So I am like thinking, okay, this is exciting. So we drive up to the garage. I pick up my bracelets, put them in these suede bags I had made my logo on to make it professional looking. And we drive back down to that parking lot and I text her, call her, whatever. Okay, I'm here. Boom, 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 come in, security, all the way into like in the deep side of the parking lot where there's a couple of trailers in. And there's a lot of girls sitting around the table, and they work for Ciroc, and they work for Diddy's clothing and all that kind of stuff. And I go up, and Lisa is there, and she's like, Yannick, welcome. How are you? Oh, yeah, this is blah, 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 blah. I'm like, oh, hey, what's up, girls? My buddy's with me because I'm like, what the fuck, man? It's like...
Must be a crazy feeling.
It was like, I'm like, what is this? Security.
Kind of like surreal almost.
Yeah, really surreal. Helicopters, police, everything, right? And I'm like, okay. I line up my bracelets, and they are they're made of crystals. It was like the crystals I bought were these clay balls, kind of with crystals glued onto them. And they were very sparkly at the time, looked like diamonds, right? And they were laid out on the table, and all the girls like, oh my God, I love it. Because, mainly they were black, and they love like sparkle and flashy things and stuff like that, right? It was Diddy's team, so that's how it was. And they were all these sweet girls, and it was all cool. And I'm like, all right, cool, whatever. Then suddenly Diddy comes, and Rick Ross comes. Nicki Minaj sees pissed. He goes up to a trailer. And Diddy comes over, and Rick Ross goes over to his, and Diddy comes over, and he's like, hey, what's up, dude? All right, I heard about you. Yeah, you're the jeweler, huh? Yeah, okay, cool, whatever. So he picks some bracelets, and I'm like, and I go to him, hey, can I take a picture? He's like, you're a cool dude, so you can. But normally I charge $20,000 for a picture. That's just how it is, dude, because I can sell shit. What? And I'm like, yeah, sure, whatever. I said, hey, cool. So we take a picture, me and him, on my iPhone 1 or whatever it was, in a parking lot. And I became really good friends that night. I really connected with his manager, who is James Cruz, who is like behind the scenes. So he's like holding everything down, right? I became good friends with him, changed numbers. And that night I drive home. I'm home at 3:00, and I thought it was fucking cool with my roommate. I'm like, sick. That was crazy, man. So I go home and I upload that picture on Facebook because we didn't have Instagram yet. And then I go to bed. And then I'm thinking like, that's fun. Just met Diddy, bought some Nialaya bracelets. I'm starting to promote my brand now. And it just blew up. I woke up next day. People just went like, whoa, that's crazy. There's so many likes and comments and all that shit. And like, this is crazy. Photoshop. And of course, Danish people, this is not real. Oh my God, you're full of shit, Yannick. Oh,
The Danes trying to hold you down.
Yeah, and I'm like, oh my God. I was thought, fuck, man, I'm onto something here. Celebrities. That's it.
Yeah.
Like, people love this shit.
Yeah.
Okay, I'm just gonna see what's up. Go that way. So many things happened. That girl I just met, the Danish girl, she came to me and said, Danish Russian, said, hey, we dated for like 6 weeks now. She's like, Yannick, we went to dinner, we're dating, and I just got asked from a Danish TV production if I want to be on Hollywood Housewives. And, we are dating, so I want you to be on it too. And I was like, yeah, I don't know. I mean, I was like, that sounds like good PR. Okay, done.
Sold.
So, yeah. And so we went on that together. And that was fun. We shot that together.
That's wild, man.
Yeah, it was wild. So at the same time, my jewelry is blowing up. In the coming 2-3 months, Diddy and his team contact me like 3 times a week. They're like, and things just went like this. They're like, listen, we need bracelets. Can you meet us at this hotel? We are at a press conference. Come down, bring like something like that. And they're like, we are going to Rihanna's birthday party. We want a special gift for her. Can you make a bracelet for her? Yes, done. We are going to see Chris Brown. We are going to see this guy. We're going to see this guy. It was just like, and then after we've done that for like 2 months, they're like, listen, you're a cool guy, dude. Who do you want to meet? We know everybody. We know everyone in this industry. Who do you want to meet? Do you want to come party with us? And I was like, this sounds crazy, but I was like, yeah, I mean, I don't know. I mean, okay, we are performing at the Playboy Mansion tonight. Come with us. So I went with them backstage, Playboy Mansion, met so many of their celebrity friends. And I met a guy named Jimmy Irvine. He's the head of Interscope Record. And little guy, he's like, oh, you were the bracelet guy. He said, and I was like,
the bracelet guy.
Yeah, and I was like, it was me and him. We were the only white guys in the whole bag. There was 150 guys backstage. And I was standing at the main table with Diddy here. And this guy who owned the record label, and Busta Rhymes and Rick Ross.
Oh, that's cool.
And it was just and me. And everyone else was just like, who the fuck? Like,
who the fuck is that guy?
Yeah.
I'm the bracelet guy.
I was like, just in the end now, right? So my bracelets started to pop up everywhere on celebrities and stuff. Diddy and these guys were buying from me like crazy and dropping them and giving them. And this guy, Jimmy Irvine, who owned Interscope Record, he started sending a car up to we were in the garage still. where I was making them. He started to send up a car 2 or 3 times a week. His assistant would call us and say, "Hey, we need a bracelet this size. We'll send them. How much is it?" I'll just be like, $1,500. They're like, "All right, cool. We'll send a check." Boom. So the driver would wait outside. Honk will come out. 3 bracelets, drive off. Boom. And he would give them to all his artists because this was the hottest thing, and it was spiritual, and it was cool, and it was flashy. So Nialaya blew off. It blew off. We were the hottest jewelry brand there was by far. And it's just like going like this, right?
Yeah.
Stores from England started to write us, "Hey, because we're emailing, can we buy from you?" And we didn't have a website. And how do we pay? And, they sent us a check in British pounds. I'm like, oh, all these little things you had to manage when you're building a business. Online stores were just starting to come along. It was like literally 2010. It sounds crazy, but so I was like, shit, this is going crazy. I was shooting the Hollywood Housewives with Masha on the side. We were now in Se og Hør, here and her new. We were on double spreads, covers of magazines in Denmark. So it was taking off. I was selling to Denmark, and it was just going crazy. So I was afraid of getting copied. At the same time, it was like kind of sarcastic because so things were flying high, okay? We were everywhere. I was everywhere. My newspapers, magazines, and all that kind of stuff. And then Shambhala in Denmark obviously was pretty pissed. They started to see like, what the fuck, this guy, he's like, obviously the bracelets are looking like ours. And he is having even more celebrities like we are. This is crazy. Like, what's going on? So they sued me.
Oh.
And I woke up one day and I was in the front of newspapers in Denmark. I said, "Is Hollywood Yannick a fraud?"
Oh.
And I was like, oh my God, classic Danish. Anyway, so they started a campaign with a PR company trying to trash me and my name and all that kind of stuff. I was like, what the fuck? So I was fighting back from here, but it was like very tough because they had money. They have money, right? That is wealthy. They have money, and they just sued me. Hired the biggest company in the US, started suing me. I had one lawyer that helped me establish a company once. I contacted him. And it was a Danish-American law firm, and he helped me defend myself. And it took about a year and a half almost like going back and forth. And it cost me so much money. It cost me like $7,000 a month. $7,000 a month to survive. And so it was like my life was hanging in a thread. On one side, it was glamorous. It was amazing, right? TV shows, this and that. But on the other side, I was fighting for survival. So it was like I was being like stressed, maxed out on both sides. But we ended up settling after a year and a half or something. And, I still make bracelets today. So that went pretty well.
Yeah.
They are doing their thing. And I think from what I hear from the owner that I speak to today, and we're friends today, I also kickstarted, they were kind of sleeping anyway. So I kickstarted them. It's good to have a competitor. That's how I see it. And I think that's great. There's still space for us. Nialaya, we have our own audience today, I'll say. And, taking it from being a celebrity brand, it was so hard. I also did a TV show over here in the US. Later, the Russian girl's now out. That lasted 6 months. The Danish-Russian girl. She was super sweet, a little crazy. But, she's a playmate.
I'm telling you attract that type.
Yeah, that's for sure. That is for sure.
We see a pattern.
Yeah, there's a little bit of a pattern.
Life for sure until I got married with a normal great girl. So at that time, it was just like what I wanted. Also, what I came to LA for. I couldn't believe it. I was backstage to all parties. I was out, celebrities, birthdays. It was a dream come true. I bought a Bentley. I moved from my, the first year I went from being myself sitting at that IKEA chair. I sat in a chair from my garden at an IKEA table making bracelets, right? To expanding my business to being 17 people in the garage working. And we worked now in 2 shifts. We were 24-hour open. There was just so much going on. So we had people working there all the time. To moving down after a year, I opened up my first store on Melrose, opened up there. We were everywhere for the first 3-4 years. It was Justin Bieber coming in from the backside with his drivers and bodyguards at 10 o'clock at night. I didn't sleep. And that was the only thing. I worked like a horse. So I knew people could have more money than me. They could have better lawyers. They could do this, but no one could outwork me because my work ethics is just insane. So I worked like crazy. And it was really fun times because those times is something you have to cherish. And I know that today, where my company's bigger, different, it's scaled up, it's more established. But those times in the beginning of an entrepreneurial trip experience, it's just like so different and so much fun.
Yeah.
Because everyone you have on your team, they're also on fire. Yeah. Because you just like, the company's hot, things are happening, you're getting contracts left and right, it was just really fun times. And I really like kind of fulfilled my dreams for what I came here for to the US. So I was like, I'm done.
Yeah, and the employees, they really buy into the vision and they're a part of it.
Sitting there making bracelets, Justin Bieber walks in through the backside. They're like, oh my God. They're like, it was just like, he was coming in from one side, someone else was coming from the front door. It was just like this. We were shooting one TV show after the other. I shot a TV show here in the US for Bravo TV, this gossip TV. It was a reality show about Europeans in LA trying to make it, where I was kind of the main guy in the show, and we killed it. The other guys were idiots. They were fighting, typical drama shit. I kind of stayed clear the most of the time. I had an American girlfriend at the time, so I had my own drama controlled with her. And we shot at Nialaya the whole time, mainly all at home. And it was all around Nialaya and the vision. So it was just amazing advertising. Yeah. And it showed in 15 countries. It only lasted one season because Americans couldn't understand what we said, us Europeans. Oh. So they actually had to subtitle 4 of the other ones because their English was just too bad. I mean, I understood what they said, but Americans, they want it easy. They don't want that someone.
We're not always used to it.
They're not used to it. Exactly.
So then it's like becomes this very foreign thing.
Yeah, and then they have to sit and concentrate. Accent. It's almost like if you're watching someone with a really bad French accent, just sitting like for 1.5 hours on the TV, you're like, oh, you also get a little tired. And I know that today. I'm also so American today. But anyway, so it dropped after a season, but that TV show showed in 15 countries. Insane PR for my brand. Mm-hmm. And then one thing led to another. I've shot a couple of other TV shows in Denmark, press, celebrities became less and less, and the hype came off the brand, so to speak. Okay. I took it a little bit away. Everyone is saying to me, you are like the new Von Dutch, Ed Hardy, Christian Richer. This is you. But these brands all had collapsed and closed. And I was thinking, yeah, that's true, but I don't want to be those brands because I want this to be a long-standing relationship. Like I want a longevity. I want to keep Nialaya going for years. Yeah. So I pulled out of the whole celebrity vibe and started to focus more on like influencers. I was so tired of looking at myself standing next to a celebrity like this. Yeah. So I stopped doing that as well. And I just kind of focused on building something else around the brand. And instead of just doing the bracelets we were known for, we started to do rings, necklaces, and other things. We also got so copied at a time. We were copied like crazy, right? You could go to the beach in Ibiza and from some African guys with the bracelets and all that kind of stuff, they were selling Shambhala bracelets, Nialaya bracelets, or Shambalaya bracelets. So they copied both brands put together. And I was like thinking, fuck,
Also some Rolexes.
Yeah, Rolexes, all that stuff as well. But I was thinking, okay, that 10 millimeter bracelet, the one you guys tried in my store before, that style, it's like, that's what Shambhala still makes, you can say, was just so copied. And I was like, I need to come up with something else. I need to like turn the brand away from that and do a more like a fashionable approach, I would say. And I want to do something different. So what Nialaya is today is like, we are more like a fashion jewelry brand where we come up with cool trends. We do a lot of pearls now for men. The way we make much smaller bracelets, so where you can stack them. Okay, I wear a lot today, but you guys buy 2 or 3 bracelets. We post on Instagram, social media, and we have a lot of, for example, guys come in and say like, hey, I saw Yannick posted these 3, I want the same 3. You had the model was wearing this, or some influencer was wearing that. And that's kind of our brand today. So it's cool.
Yeah, and you also were nice enough to hook Mikkel and I up with some pretty dope stuff here too as well. So
we need you guys to be representing
exactly.
spreading the vibes. Exactly, some good energy your way.
Yeah, I love that.
Yeah, so Nialaya is an affordable brand compared to much more expensive high-end luxury brands, obviously. But we are still in the range of like, I would say like 200 to 500, down to 100 even. Our average order is maybe $190. Today we have a flagship store. I showed you guys around before.
Yeah.
We have the small store in the front. It's a great marketing tool. It's a good billboard on Melrose. It's next to some amazing big brands. The pink wall, Paul Smith is the most Instagram wall in the US. That's our neighbor, right? As you guys know, which is a picture there. And then there's some other great brands on the other side. And we, in the back, we run the company. We do all the wholesale, we do all the planning, we do graphic design and all that kind of stuff. And then we have a little production facility, as you guys also saw, where we make the bracelets. We sell a lot of rings today, we sell a lot of necklaces, and we sell a lot of bracelets. And bracelets are still a huge factor for us, but it's like we also very strong in the other categories. And that's kind of now where the brand is today. It's, it's not so entrepreneurial as it used to be, obviously,
It's all more built up now.
It's more built up. It's more stable. We think a little bit more about the moves we make, and it's just how it is. Sometimes that can be a little boring to me because I am actually more an entrepreneurial kind of guy, and that's the spirit I love. But I also love Nialaya because it's a very creative business, and through the brand, I meet so many amazing people like you guys. But also, like, let's say I travel somewhere. There's always a cool DJ I know that plays there if I want to go out one night. I know guys that owns restaurants, hotels around the world through my brand. So it's a good door opener as well. And
that sounds super cool.
It's a nice thing. And I have a great team of mainly girls working at the office. It's fun. It's cool. They're, good spirit. It's young people. And I love that vibe. Yeah. So I keep it at that. We're selling to a lot of fashion stores today. So I'm still kind of one step in the fashion world. But the other foot, I'll say, is like in the jewelry world or business world. Really.
Yeah.
So, yeah.
And then another thing that we also thought was quite impressive that you've built up is also your personal brand. So that's also something Mick and I, we're working at ourselves. And that is not an easy thing to do.
No, it's not.
And I'm just following your story with all the celebrities from all the different groups and being on TV shows. Have that also played into your following, for example, on Instagram? Where both you and Nialaya have like 200,000 or something like that.
Yeah, we do. I think I have 200,000.
How has that been for you? And what would you tell someone kind of looking to build up their own brand?
It's so important. And, looking back, I learned a lot about branding from Ralph Lauren the days I worked with the brand Ralph Lauren. But I didn't really think about myself as a brand as such. But like everyone's a brand. Everyone who has a business, you got to be a brand. You got to be your own brand. So for me, when I first started Nialaya's Instagram profile, first I had a Facebook, maxed that out, 5,000 friends plus 2,000 extra friends or whatever it was. That worked well. But then, Facebook wasn't that cool anymore. Yeah. It was kind of like our parents, right? Even my age. Now it's like, okay, when I look at Facebook now, it's people my age, sitting there wishing each other birthdays or like commenting stupid shit on each other's pictures. I'm personally never on Facebook. It's not because I think I'm young or anything. I just get depressed looking at that shit. Yeah. And I don't have the time to sit and discuss like pointless topics with people that I no, because it makes me depressed that they're even spending their time and wasting time on that shit. So I'm on Instagram, and that's kind of where my demographic is, so to speak.
I mean, you're right next to the pink wall, so
I mean, right.
Perfect.
But the reason, I first started Nialaya's Instagram, and I ran that up to like 5 years ago myself, actually, and until I did that TV show here in the US, I didn't have one personal one, but it was part of a contract. NBC owns Bravo, and there was a whole contract we had to sign, like 50 pages. One of the points was you need to open an Instagram account. You need to have your personal Instagram account. So I started way too late with my Instagram account. Thanks God I did, though, because it's been a big driver for the business since. And you guys follow me, right? So you can see I'm posting a lot of shit sometimes as well. But it's about building your own credibility as well. Nialaya is me, and I'm Nialaya as well. So I am the front guy of it. Today, the brand is in different kind of size. We work, I have an e-commerce manager, he sits and works with Google ads and Facebook ads because that's where the money is, of course, still. Mm-hmm. So he sits and does all that kind of stuff. But for me, I'm just kind of running the profile of the brand, really. I wear the brand. I'm posting what I wear. I hope I inspire other guys to buy the pieces I wear and stuff. I still like fashion, so I dress like, in a sort of fashionable way, I guess. And it's about, your lifestyle. My brand is like, what do I drive? How do I live? How do I present myself? And, because I'm basically selling a product to people. Yeah. So it also needs to be something that's kind of cool. If I didn't take care of myself, that would be a problem, I think. So, but I think you don't have to be like spending too much time on that. I think a lot of people would also just buy into the entrepreneurial dream and being a good guy and being an entrepreneur and working hard. Really is what it comes down to.
Yeah.
And what I was going to say to you guys before, people ask me always, what is the key to success? Like, to make it.
Yeah.
And that's what I was going to say before. Like what I always say is just one word. It comes down to being obsessed. And no matter what you do, I mean, if you have a business or you have your own business, you got to be obsessed and just like go for it. And it's like, it's so hard sometimes. It's still like hard. We've had like Nialaya. It looks like this, but it's been like this. Like it's been like, obviously like starting out.
You've really pulled back the curtain for us so we can see that roller coaster that you've gone through.
So hard.
That has not been a straight line.
Starting out being suits right away after 6 months, your life depends on it.
Yeah.
Because had I lost that case, I would look like a complete fool who tried to copy a company.
Yeah.
So I now go away with that. But since I didn't lose that deal, that lawsuit, so to speak, and you can say since I'm still doing it, kind of won it, right? Then and I'm doing amazing and I've done so much great stuff and bring so many cool products, then you come out as a winner. But it takes so much. It's so much hard work.
Yeah.
It's such a struggle, right? And it's still hard work today. It's like nothing is easy. It's like, it's super costly to run a business. It's super costly to run a business in LA. I remember when I started, the minimum wage was about $6.50 in LA. Now it's about $25. So the cost of just running a business here is insane. The cost of rent on Melrose is insane. Like all these things, but I love it. It's still grinding. The brand is different today. We're much more international. We sell 60% of our products online, but we also work with some big online platforms around the world. The ones is Farfetch, Minto, Boost, Magazine. Who have I forgotten? It's probably some. I have to be careful. I don't forget the best ones. But there's so many big ones we sell to and around the world. But there's the ones in Denmark or Scandinavia anyways. And Wolf and Badger, the iconic in Australia. So we try to be on all these big platforms, and our brand is very well fitted to the online world. The difference from selling ours to selling a drone or selling a sweatshirt or selling a table or something is like, it's small packages with high value. I mean, this ring here goes in a little box and then it can be shipped to anywhere in the world, right? So we ship a lot of packages out. And I love doing jewelry because, as you guys see, like the way we store things, you don't need like 2,000 square meters. You need like a smaller space, more concentrated space. And because jewelry doesn't take that much space, the rest is actually just logistics and business. So that's what I'm doing today. It's more business-minded and just running the business as such. And then I have a good young team who is doing social media for me. Facebook ads, Google ads, stuff like that I'm not that good at. And then I just run the business as an overall really. And I love that.
What's the vision, the upcoming vision for Nialaya?
For Nialaya, it's a long-term vision. I always see myself still, people always say, when are you selling? Why don't you sell? But I already tried to sell a company and it's an empty feeling.
Yeah.
And for me to sell it, I could sell it and make some money and go in and I'll probably do real estate or something like I know a little bit about and I'm good at. But at the same time, then what? Then I'm just a guy with money. And there's so many guys with money. And there's just nothing to it, right? When I travel, sometimes you meet. Let's say I go to Ibiza or south of France or something, which I do every summer, right? Then if you have money, you're just a guy that sits there, and you can spend money to stay in an expensive hotel and all that kind of shit. You don't really get that extra treatment. When I travel, I know most of the owners. Managers in the cool places, and I bring them a gift or a bracelet, or they order from me directly and say, "Hey, are you coming? Can you bring me that?" and stuff like that. So I have a great connection. So we get special treatments everywhere. I just meet all the cool people in the world, really, and I need to meet to have a great life. So Nialaya for me it's a great door opener. It's an amazing business, and it's a profitable business, and I can be entrepreneurial, I can be creative, and I can build, and I can do that for the next 20 to 30 years, because I think I'm going to be working till I'm 80, 90.
Yeah.
And so the vision is to build the brand and become even bigger and more established, take over more markets, and really also go into Asia more than we are already. So that's really the vision for now. And potentially one day open a store in Copenhagen or London or something like that. So we have like a store over there too. Could be an opportunity.
Cool.
Yeah, I see that coming.
Very cool.
Yeah.
How do you stay top of mind? Like staying in shape? I see you working out.
Yeah.
How you've been up and down? Like how you've kept yourself sane from not burning out?
Yeah, I mean, so I always worked out. I used to be like a lot bigger, going to the gym and lift a lot heavier and all that kind of stuff. When I have breakups, girlfriends, heartbreaks, suffering, sadness, business issues, stress, lawsuits, all that shit that comes with life, then, I always just drag myself to the gym, still just do it. I'm super disciplined when it comes to that. So going to the gym, live healthy. It helps. My wife is 25 years younger than me. So, she's kind of a lot of energy. And
she pushes you.
See what?
She pushes you.
She literally pushes me. She's an amazing girl. She's very, very mature. She's 27, right? I'm 52. She's almost very fit, and I say sports and fitness is also her passion, just like mine. So we work out together. She's very much into nutrition and living very, very healthy. She's extremely healthy. So my life is just like way healthier than I've ever been. I thought I was healthy, even when I was super unhealthy. I mean, I hardly drink alcohol anymore.
Yeah.
I get my sleep right. We are counting sleep. We are counting steps. It's like eating healthy food. We go out a lot. We go to great restaurants. Obviously, we travel and stuff like that. But we actually eat very, very healthy and living a super healthy lifestyle. And with her in my life as well, it's just my life is just very balanced and also happy. I think it's something I realized. I mean, I've had my life, so to speak, lived on my terms, but I do understand now what it means to have a great partner. And you can actually come very, very far if you have a good partner.
Yeah.
If you have a good girlfriend that supports you, it means everything.
Yeah. 100.
Yeah, it's just so important, So I love her for that. She's really hardworking as well. I never had any girl in my life that was that hardworking. She's very ambitious and she's successful, and that really makes me, wake up fucking early in the morning and stuff. I push myself as well. You can't just be lazy and lay on the couch and eat chips all day long. I mean, then she'll be like, "Fuck you, I'm out."
Yeah.
That's just that should also how
she pushes you to a higher standard.
She puts me. She has very, very high standards for herself, and as I have too. So and we're just a great team, and I think it's super important, right? But no matter what, I mean, it's not to my ex-girlfriends or whatever, but none of them was that hardworking, for example. And when you dated in the US, you will realize the mentality over here is like American girls are extremely entitled as well. It's especially my ex-girlfriends. It's like, you just like, they just lay down. They expect you to take care of them and carry them around. And thanks God, my wife is Austrian, so she's from Salzburg, and her mentality is quite like-minded.
That's the Arnold mentality.
It's the Arnold mentality. Exactly, the Arnold mentality in every way. So she has a very strong mind of what she wants in life, and we just live a very healthy life now. And my mind is clear, strong, and I go to the gym. I take vitamins.
What has that done for you? All of these, like the eating healthy, the training, the cutting down on the alcohol, having a great partner that you guys boost each other in these healthy habits. How is that?
It means everything.
How is life compared to the crazy party days and everything?
It means everything because, like obviously our friend group, we hang out with younger people as well, like they have their own businesses, that have their own startups and stuff like that, right? Yeah. I like to have a good time. I like to party. I like to go out and have drinks and stuff, but I also like to go home at 1 o'clock. And in the past, I'd be going home at 5 or 6 o'clock. And it's just, you just feel different when you wake up. Yeah. I will say because I have such an insane work ethic, when I used to party like crazy, I would wake up and go to the gym and still go back to work. So I work 7 days a week, and I also worked out 7 days a week. Like, yeah, I've still been doing that. Yeah, but obviously I don't think that's very healthy. So whatever damage I've done to my body in the first 50 years, I'm actually trying to fix that. So now I'm tuned in with the best nutritionists, doctors, you know, I just got my blood tested and all these kind of things, just to like, I want to live to 100, and I want to live to 100, like being super fit and healthy. So that's like another goal I have, not just in business, but, you know, to do my business right, you need to be clear in your mind and all that kind of stuff, but also just on a personal level, I want to be like fit. We want to have kids, right? I'm 52. So, you know, having kids, we'll probably have kids in a couple of years. So let's say I have a couple of kids when I'm 55. I obviously want to live a healthy, fit, functional life. I don't want to be an old dad just sitting, sagging in a corner, being overweight and like smoking cigarettes and drinking fucking rosé all day. Yeah. I just don't see myself like that. No. I would say I do see some of my friends, obviously, that has a different choice of lifestyle in Denmark, mainly. Yeah. It's just, you know, it's part of their life. They just drink a lot. And that shows. That shows. Yeah.
Let me ask you, with all of that circulating together, what makes a great life for you? Like, what really makes a great life for you? And
yeah. I mean, I would say, you know, you would ask me 5 years ago, I'd probably have said something else. But you know, I feel I have a really great life today. You know, love life means everything. I have a great like home base. It's safe. It's organized. We are very, very balanced as a couple. We don't really fight. We see eye to eye on things. It's unbelievable with the age gap, actually, but we have such an amazing life. I think it's important that, you know, you have some money. I think that is important later in life. Remind you, I lost everything when I was 35, 36. Like, I was done. So I started all over again from scratch. So you have time. Like, you know, you don't like just learn, do things. But
that's super inspiring, actually.
Yeah, because a lot of people were like, you're 35, man, you're moving to the US. Normally you would move when you're 22, go to college and you stay or something. Who the fuck leaves this great life in Copenhagen with like 35? So it had to be better than that. Like that was always my goal. Like my life in Copenhagen was great. It was sick. But to move from that, leave that behind, family, friends, the whole thing, you need to be able to like provide to have a much better life. Yeah. And that's what I think I have today. So I love my life in LA. It's like, you know, the thing about living in LA is it is la la land, it is a bubble. I know all that kind of stuff. It is crazy, but it's also like, it never really feels like work. You're just rolling down to work. It's like 25 degrees. It's sunny. You go to a coffee shop, have a coffee, you sit outside and you have lunch and t-shirt. It's 330 days a year. You go to the gym, cool people, like-minded. Everyone is super happy, positive. We have money to travel whenever we want, wherever we want to go. We can stay wherever we want. I mean, it's not really about the money. We just stayed in a super like nice little motel for $200, and it was like, it was almost better than the really expensive place we stayed. Also on that trip, we just went on a road trip to 4 different states and stayed in 5 different hotels. And so it's not really about that. It's just about having a good time. And, you know, being super happy. I feel very content with my life today, where I am. I found a great balance of love life, obviously my wife being married. My business is going well. I'm super healthy and I'm very content with where I am, also with my mind. So I think it's these things that comes together. And if you can kind of find that balance, and then you think you are pretty good on the way.
Amazing.
What's your biggest regret through all that journey?
If I should, like, you know, obviously since I'm 52, I start to reflect on a lot of things and like, you know, what I could have done differently. I mean, I could just maybe have saved up 20% and just lived up to like, you know, 100% instead of going to 120. And that's what I would teach my kids, anyone younger and guys like you, or anyone else really, just save up a little bit. Like, I mean, I could have had just as much fun. I didn't always have to pay for the table and always max out. I didn't always have to fly business class, or I didn't always have to fucking drive a Ferrari and have 3 cars in my garage and have the most expensive cars. Yeah, I could have done with a lot less. As I'm 52 now, you are mature, right? When you grow up, it could have been my complexes from growing up in the countryside and, all that kind of stuff. You want to show off, you want to show the world all the cool things. So, of course I need to have a Ferrari and a Cobra and 3 bikes and a G-Wagon. The burn rate is just insane. Yeah. The burn rate is insane.
That's a lot of toys.
It's a lot of toys, right? Do I have time to drive them? No. Do I drive all of them in 1 year? No, not even.
Although we did appreciate the G-Wagon ride on the way over.
Yeah, I gave you a lift. Yeah, that's my day-to-day ride. So that's actually fair.
Yeah.
But the other things, like looking back, did I need all that shit? No. Would I have been, and it sounds great, have been okay in a Range Rover? I would have. I could have bought a used Range Rover for $50,000. I didn't need to drive a G-Wagon for $250,000. Just like saying, you don't need it.
Yeah.
Today I couldn't care less, man. I'm like, I have had it all. So and that's a great place to be, where I'm actually thinking, I don't need that shit. I am enough, and I would have been enough all the way. It's often, and that's talking about social media, it's our own mind that spins with us. We are much more caught up in our own world ourselves, with all the shit that we think about, that it's taking our mind, and we are thinking, oh, should I buy that car? Should I buy this? Should I look to? Or it's in our own mind. People like us just as much, no matter what fucking car we drive or whatever we look like, whatever, just be a cool guy. So at the end, they just save some money, like save money on the side and like scale down, be much more smart with my money. That's what I would say to my younger self, if I should say something. I could have had just as much fun and been a little more cautious with spending. But from looking back, and my friends and people that knows me, they would probably say that I probably never saved anywhere else. Looking back, I've had a lot of fun though. But yeah.
I'm really curious on a personal level, because I've kind of done a reverse Yannick. I've moved from the US to Denmark now, and I've been living there for 9 years, and that has just been an absolutely life-changing experience for me. And you're someone who've moved around a lot.
Yeah.
But the big one being, of course, from Denmark to the US, where you now live in, it seems like it's a pretty permanent situation, at least for now-ish.
Yeah.
What has been the biggest challenges you faced moving there, the biggest learnings, the biggest discoveries maybe about yourself?
To move to the US?
Yeah, to move to the US, that maybe people who haven't experienced that before would be curious to hear about.
So a lot of people, like a lot of my friends say, like a lot of people say, you're more American now than you're Danish. Over here, they say you're so European. in Denmark or Europe, they're like, fuck, you're so American.
Yeah.
So it's all of that, right? I'm in between. But you
kind of don't fit either place 100%.
That's the thing. You never do.
Yeah.
And my old friends would say, you were already American before you moved there. So they always think that. So I guess I was, right? Which is why I fit in here. I love the US. I'm American now. I have an American passport as well. So, I'm pretty settled here.
Yeah.
When I look back, when I look at Denmark and my friends and their everyday life, it's not necessarily a life I want or I'm jealous of. I'm happy for them, and I look at it from the outside. But when you are in Denmark, and that don't mean to sound wrong, but it's also just you're with the same people all the time, right? If you have like 20 friends, then they and their partners have birthdays once a year, so you need to go to like 40 birthday parties, and then and it's the same people you see. And then, they also then the kids have a party, you have to go to that. And then this, and it's just like, then you do a brunch. It's just like very much the same and the same and the same. And they talk about a lot of the same, obviously, because, they talk about the business and they talk about themselves and they talk about other people a lot. That part about talking about other people and it gets very, very small for me personally. However, I will say Denmark is also an insanely cool place for you to be at. It's changed a lot since I moved away 60 years ago. It's much more international. You live in Aalborg. I don't know how that is exactly, but in Copenhagen, where I'm from Vejle, but I thrive in Copenhagen the best.
Because I know what you mean.
But in Copenhagen, when you go to a restaurant, everyone speaks English. Like some of them don't even speak Danish. So it's fucking international. You can live in Copenhagen now. When I moved, I know for my international friends that had moved to Denmark, let's say some of them worked in shipping or banking or whatever. Some of their issues there when we go to Denmark, it's like the Danish people are very closed off in circles.
Yeah.
So, and that's coming back. And also, that doesn't matter if it's Jylland, Vejle, Aalborg, or Copenhagen. Copenhagen, so much. They have a little circle, and then, they hang with them. That's their tight circle they went to school with, maybe. That's how tight and small-minded they are. And then if you suddenly meet one of them at an office, and you are an English-speaking person, you can get so far to them, but to get over that border and invite you home, that's a big step for Danish people. To start to hang out privately. Whoa, major, because they like to be the same six.
And Americans will do that on day one.
Oh my God! Like here, obviously you've seen this house here. How many parties we've had? People just come. Can I bring a friend? Yeah, sure.
You invited us here.
Yeah, basically. Our group of friends is just so big, right? And there's every time you go, there's some other people being invited. And I love that here in LA. If you go to a party, people have been invited to the party that they just met the day before.
Yeah.
That doesn't happen in Copenhagen. It's like, oh my God, we went to school together, and then, oh my God, an uncle and aunt, and they are married. And it's a tight little group. It's just but it's so fucking boring because you never meet anyone new. I already know all my friends and what they're doing, and there's nothing new. So why don't you bring some new people into their life? That's a missing link in Copenhagen. So I think foreigners, expats or whatever they're called, they probably have their own circles. And then Copenhageners, Danish people have their own circle. This is kind of how it is sometimes, until you might have someone that's international minded that says, hey, let's merge the groups here or whatever. That said, I do know a lot of Europeans in LA as well.
Yeah.
You know what I mean? Obviously, I even know some Danish people, cool Danish people we hang out with here. And my wife, obviously Austrian, she never met so many Danish people in her life. It's what the fuck? But they pop up everywhere. But it's great. I like that here. It's very international. It's very very easy to hang out and very easy to meet people. Also here, networking is insanely easy. Hey, can you just hook me up? Boom.
That's so true.
In Denmark, it's more that's my circle. And I'm not sure if I want to share that contact, because if you benefit, what do I benefit now? Yeah,
exactly. That was the most clear sign from when we were in Silicon Valley the first time is just giving.
Totally.
Without any expectation.
Yeah.
But in Denmark, if I ask you, Yannick, I have this guy and he maybe likes the rings and stuff. No, I don't think so.
Yeah, that's the thing.
I don't know you.
Yeah, that's the thing. You keep your contacts very tight, like your Rolodex, so to speak. You're all right, yeah. Where over here, it's call him. Yeah, say hi, by the way.
Yeah.
See you later. And I don't even want to tell me in 2 years if you made a deal out of it.
Yeah.
I don't need to benefit. It could also be I need to benefit, and I'll say, listen, I'll set it up, but I want 5% cash back, whatever.
Yeah.
People are spreading it out here because it's just that octopus arms network is just so much bigger here.
Yeah.
And it's so easy to network. If you have something to give, it's also reflects good on the person who kind of sends you off, So, I think, I thrive here, obviously, as you can hear. So I like that lifestyle. I like that LA lifestyle. Sometimes people are obviously superficial as fuck here. It's LA, right? That they're very superficial. But I'm actually okay with that too. I don't care. I don't take it too serious. Life is a journey, right? So I love to experience things and just meet people. And I have very, very close friends in Denmark still, or in Europe in general, a lot of people living all over the place. But I have a lot of my old good friends still, and I still keep close contact with. And then I just meet them 2, 3, 4 times a year, travel, meet them, south of Europe, Copenhagen, wherever I am. And that works for me. So yeah, it's cool.
That's awesome.
Yeah.
We, towards the end of our shows, we always do this one thing where we just try to ask a question to just go a little deep inside of you.
Yeah.
And I'm just curious for that on this one. What has been something in recent times for you that have just been weighing on you, either in your heart or in your mind, that you would be willing to share with us?
Well, I would like to rent out my house here.
So if anyone is looking for a house in LA, Yannick,
it's for rent. We live in a bubble here in LA, right?
Yeah.
So I'm obviously quite concerned about the world economy right now. from where it is. If I see that, like, from an perspective from outside and looking in, I think we are seeing some struggles coming. And the reason I do that is because I experienced 2008 to 12.
Yeah, sure. Yeah.
Yeah. And that sits in the back of my head. I've seen what that means. And I've seen how the money markets can dry up, let me put it that way. And I do see some similarities. I mean, the economy is on fire. I know the stocks markets, the crypto and everything is just like going crazy. Novo Nordisk in Denmark.
Yeah.
It's just got crazy, right? But I do see inflation is super high. It's really expensive to live in LA. I mean, I think it's concerning that here you're either doing really well, you're not doing well at all.
Yeah.
The middle class in the US is just disappearing. And so many people are suffering. Credit cards, debts in the US is higher than it's ever been. I think I don't know how old you guys are, but for young people, it's very hard to get into the market and buy a house in the US ever, for example. The average price of houses in the whole of US, not LA, because here it's completely crazy, was $236,000 in 2020. And now it's $436,000.
Oh, wow.
So it doubled in 4 years.
Okay, wow.
So that leaves a lot of people without that opportunity. So most people just are like, okay, I'm just going to be a renter for the rest of my life. Not a problem with that. But that just says something about it. I just think the homeless people in LA, the criminals, stuff like that, you got to be super careful living here. So LA has changed a lot since I moved here too. You can't just drive around your convertible with your watch hanging out the window and stuff. You got to be super careful. Gated houses. I look over my shoulder. I mean, it's like, it's not something that bothers me as such. It's just something I do without even thinking about it.
Yeah.
So I drive my car, it locks, click, and I drive. And I'm just driving behind, like, and I go in, as you see, my house here is fenced, the gate closed behind me. And I step out of my car behind my office, I look around, like, it's just not something I have to do.
Yeah.
There's homeless people living everywhere. And it's like, I don't know, this country is going, but there's going to be a lot of challenges. What I know is, like, in challenge time, there's opportunities to make a lot of money too. So that's what I plan to do for myself personally. But I do worry for a lot of people, that also a lot of young people that hasn't seen it or doesn't know what it means. Like in a financial crisis, it goes really fast and it wipes out. So that's something I'm a little worried about. Yeah.
Understandable. Yeah. Makes a lot of sense.
Yeah. On a bigger scale.
Yeah. I just have one more question for you as well. Is like, I just thought it was so cool and so inspiring, actually, when you were talking about becoming a father soon.
Yeah.
Because that's also a journey, Mikkel and I were also looking into in the not so distant future and everything like that. And do you have thoughts about that, about becoming a dad and
totally. I mean,
that whole journey? And
I do, because obviously, like I said, I'm 52, right? My wife is 27. So, like, how is that going to be? How many kids do we want to have? Also, that's a question. Having a kid in the US, it's not like having a kid in Denmark. It's completely different. Where do you want to grow up with your kid? Like Denmark, oh my God, any place in Denmark, it's awesome.
Yeah.
Copenhagen, that's a little city, man. That's like kids can just bicycle around there. Yeah. You can't just bicycle around here. You're not allowed. Your kid cannot walk to school in LA by themselves. It's illegal, right? I mean, because so many kids get kidnapped in the US. Like, it sounds completely nuts, but that is a day-to-day thing. It's like kids are getting kidnapped every single day in America. You got to be super careful. You have to live in a certain kind of community, and if not gated community, then you have to think about these kind of things. So with having a kid, like, we are definitely thinking about, okay, what do we do? I mean, we're probably not going to be living in our house in the hills, because it's a cliffhanger hanging over a cliff. Like, kids could just fall over. So that's not good for kids. So we already know we can have kids, but we can't live there forever. So where do we move? Do we move here? It's a sick house. We have like 5 bedrooms. Yeah. It'll be great for kids, yeah. But then we have a pool, like, just outside. They can drown that. Also, are the schools okay here? Like, how are the schools in the neighborhood? What kind of kids are they going to play with in this neighborhood? This is in the middle of the city. Is that good? I don't think so. So I think about all these kind of things. We'll probably move to Malibu, be close to the beach. out in the mountains, stuff like that. But then, then daddy here, that's me. Yeah. It's going to be like, fucking hell, there's nothing happening here.
That was the first thing I thought about right when you said it.
Yeah, exactly. So I have a lot of thoughts. Yeah. My wife knows how it is. She's probably more mature and relaxed than I am. She can do that. And she also sells houses on that side, by the way. So it'll just be easier for her work-wise. But for me, I'm like, then I have to like find a new group of friends out there maybe. And that's a whole different life.
Yeah.
But maybe I'm ready for that. It's like, beach life, just outside of LA, probably do that, run my office from there, like 3 days a week, come in twice a week only. That's kind of how I see myself.
Doesn't sound too bad.
Yeah, hang out with the kids, do some real estate out there, and just do some other projects on the side of Nialaya. That's kind of how I've envisioned myself.
Amazing. Yeah. Thank you.
Yeah, my pleasure.
Yeah, it's been a really great conversation with you, Yannick. Thank you so much for taking this time with us. I just made a couple notes along the way. I loved how you talked about the importance and the impact it's had on you to be around like-minded people, even since you were 15 and onwards throughout your whole life, and how that has played so many roles, about appreciating all of the small wins along the way as the entrepreneurial journey. That was really nice. I think that's such a good little soundbite for anybody entrepreneurial watching this.
True.
Sort of your mentality of like hustle, 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 like just getting that work and going for what you want, and not just working hard, but being obsessed with it and having that passion that you talked about. The courage to move to the United States and the other places that you've gone to, but just make that jump, even when plan A of going with your girlfriend fell apart.
Yeah.
And sort of initially you're like, well, I'm going, man. That takes a lot. I know because I've done it, and that takes a lot. And I went to be with my girlfriend, so
so
I had a little easier.
Yeah,
and just doing what you love.
It's been cool, guys.
Yeah.
Good luck.
You've been listening to the Growing Forward podcast.